This is the Wednesday, March 13th, 2019 afternoon session of the Portland City Council. Keelan, please call the roll.
Fritz.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
Hardesty.
Here.
Udaley.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. Now we'll turn it over to legal counsel for the rules of conduct. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Portland City Council. City Council represents all Portland residents in the city business. Presiding officer preserves order and decorum during city council meetings, so everyone feel welcome, thank you, comfortable, respected, and safe. To participate in council meetings, you may sign up in advance with the council clerk's office for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions or the first readings of ordinances. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. If it does not, you may be ruled out of order. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When you have 30 seconds left, a yellow light goes on. When your time is done, a red light goes on. If you are in the audience and would like to show your support for something that is said, please feel free to do a thumbs up. If you want to express that you do not support something, please feel free to do a thumbs down. Please remain seated in council chambers unless entering or exiting. If you are filming the proceedings, please do not use bright lights or disrupt the meeting. Disruptive conduct such as shouting or interrupting testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being ejected for the remainder of the meeting. After being ejected, a person who fails to leave the meeting is subject to arrest for trespass. Thank you for helping your fellow Portlanders feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe.
And that was not directed towards anybody, Chris Warner. So, colleagues, just a reminder, there were a couple of items we pulled from this morning session into this afternoon session. So we'll do item 235. Then we have a gap where we will put in items 230, 231, followed by 229, and then we'll come back to item 236. We should be okay doing that. So first item, Keelan, item number 235.
Biketown 2018 Annual Report.
Commissioner Udaley.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to immediately hand this off to Interim Director Chris Warner.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner, Mayor, City Commissioners, Chris Warner, PBOT. So today, we have some exciting news in terms of sharing this annual report for our bike share system. Along with me are my colleagues from PBOT, Roshan Kurian, Liz Horman, and Steve Hoyt-Macbeth. And I'll share a few highlights, and they'll get into the technical work. In addition to releasing this annual report, which provides this will provide more detail on the presentation. But given our strong 2018, we really think, and there's an upcoming RFP in terms of the next version of where we're going with the Biketown contract and the expansion of the system, we felt it was really the right time to come before council. Like Portland Streetcar and the Ariel Tram, PBOT owns Biketown. It launched in July of 2016. PBOT funded it through a $2 million federal grant we got through Metro. Biketown is a public-private partnership which allows PBOT to provide the public service with very little public expenditure. Nike is Biketown's title sponsor. The 5-year, $10 million agreement allowed Portland to expand the number of bikes that we had initially to 1,000 and helps us to cover the costs of operating the system. Kaiser Permanente, which has been a longtime supporter of Sunday Parkways, is also a secondary sponsor for Biketown. We really appreciate all they do for the community. And we'll be bringing them up a little bit later, but Carol Collymore from Nike and Miguel Villarreal from Kaiser Permanente are here as well to talk a little bit about this year's Biketown presentation. So Biketown is really part of 3 components. Biketown for All, which provides service to people living with low incomes. Adaptive Biketown, which focuses on serving people with disabilities. And our mass market program, which is the Biketown that you all have heard about. So Biketown is a smart bike system. Unlike other large bike share systems, Biketown bicycles can be parked anywhere within the service area, primarily along some of the 147 stations in the service area. Users who park at any of the 147 stations only pay the fee for the ride. Those who park at a public bike rack will pay an extra $2 convenience fee. And those who find a bike and return it from outside the station to one of the stations will receive a $1 ride credit. So from our user survey with members, we know the Biketown is meeting its primary goal of reducing trips and congestion. Among local users, about a quarter of Biketown rides are replacing either a personal driving or taxi or Uber, and over 60% of the people that have joined Biketown have reported biking more. So that's something that's really encouraging for us. In 2018, Biketown work focused really on two main goals. One is to bring new people to bicycling by removing financial or structural barriers, and the other is really to engage the broader community in celebration of Portland culture, which we're looking forward to sharing with you in a moment. I'll let Roshan, Liz, and Carol speak to many of the other 2018 initiatives, but I'm going to highlight a couple before I turn it over to them. In celebration of National Bike Month and what we call the kickoff to fair weather riding, Biketown launched Free Ride May. So this May gave everyone who wanted 90 minutes of free bike riding each day on the Biketown system. In addition, we created this dockless system that allowed people to park it at any bike rack, not necessarily at the stations themselves, but anywhere within the service area. This very popular promotion resulted in Biketown breaking its single-day trip record 9 times. The people took over 80,000 trips on Biketown in May of 2018. Most important to PBOT's desire to introduce new people to bicycling, 11,000 locals rode Biketown for the first time during May. So those are really great results for us. This summer, Biketown partnered with Portland State University to provide free annual memberships to full-time students. Over 3,000 PSU students have become members. Clint Culpepper from PSU was here today, and he'll speak a little bit more about this initiative. And in June, Biketown conducted the second expansion of the service area to the 50s Bikeway in southeast and northeast Portland. Also, Biketown changed its pricing structure, making it less expensive to ride. Biketown reduced its annual membership fee to $99, and after paying a one-time $5 registration fee, casual users can pay 8 cents per minute and making shorter trips more economical for people that don't want to be monthly members. In September, one other quick thing, in September, Portland hosted the North American Bike Share Conference. It was a 4-day conference with over 330 attendees from all over the US, Canada, and Latin America, and they came to Portland really to spotlight our transportation innovation that we're doing here. So these initiatives and others that Liz, Roshan, and Carol will speak about resulted in really a fantastic year for Biketown. The annual membership increased by 87% in 2018. 124,000 people rode Biketown in 2018, and the ridership grew 22% to over 400,000 trips. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Roshan, and she'll talk a little bit about more of the findings that we have in the annual report.
Thanks, Chris. Again, my name is Roshan Kurian. I've been managing the Biketown for All program, which provides a reduced-cost Biketown membership for Portlanders that are living on a low income. The overall goal of the program is to increase access to bike share while reducing barriers to moving around Portland by bike. So Biketown for All has been super successful in that it has grown, more than doubling between 2017 and 2018 in memberships. And in fact, within our Biketown for All member group, we have seen more ridership and folks riding all throughout the year, including winter, compared to other conventional Biketown members. So the way that Biketown for All works is that members can sign up online and pay $3 a month by linking their credit or debit card or by choosing the cash option. Portlanders are eligible if they're Oregon Trail card holders, residents of affordable housing, if they qualify for utility assistance or other social services. In the past, members who were unbanked or wary of linking their accounts were only able to pay by cash by coming to a workshop in person and then paying every subsequent month by coming to the parks office and handing over their $3. That is no longer the case. We still offer these workshops where folks can learn about the system, learn the rules of the road, and collect a free helmet. But now, through an initiative that we call Pay It Forward, every new member's first month is free. I will talk more about Pay It Forward in a moment. Go to Biketown for All was designed based on the needs of the customers we want to serve. So national research has showed that people living on low incomes were less likely to sign up for something if there's a possibility of fees or overdrafting accounts. So we consciously removed these unwelcome costs like out-of-station fees, parking out of the service area fees, and fees for going over the 90-minute per day time limit. We provide a ride credit if members bring bikes back to the Biketown station, providing an opportunity to pay for their membership. So for every 3 bikes that are brought back to a Biketown station, you can essentially pay for the next month of your membership. So that allows, so we've created a system that allows people that actually use Biketown to pay for it by offering a highly discounted, almost free rate. So here we see a snapshot of growth for the program. As of the end of 2018, there were 495 Biketown for All members, riding over 66,000 trips in total, which is about 20% of all annual trips, all annual member trips. We've made improvements, have done outreach in populations that tend to get overlooked, such as our populations experiencing homelessness, joblessness, or going through recovery. We see Biketown as a valuable public service for people to achieve their goals, whether that's getting to a job interview, selling newspapers as a street roots vendor, or finding ways to exercise while traveling around Portland. So people think of biking as a spring and summer activity, but Biketown for All, high ridership across the year, has shown that Biketown is truly a transportation mode for many. So I briefly mentioned Pay It Forward initiative that we started in October of last year. So we were racking our heads trying to figure out how to get over that initial financial hurdle of signing up folks that are unbanked. So we thought of just paying the $3. We thought of a third-party service that lets you pay for your memberships at a 7-Eleven or Walgreens, but those ended up being dead ends. So instead, we thought of a creative way that doesn't require much staff time or a budget to maintain. We noticed that Biketown for All members averaged around $24 positive balance credit from rebalancing the system, which means bringing a bike back to a station, and that regular annual members also had a lot of Biketown credit. So starting in October, all Biketown for All members who get their first month free can choose to pay it forward as well when they sign up for their own membership. So once they have accumulated 6 months worth of Biketown credit in membership, they pay it forward and send that excess credit into a fund that pays for the first month for future Biketown for All members. We also started a holiday campaign for Pay It Forward, targeting regular annual members to donate their rebalancing credit as well. And we received over 1,500 Biketown credit dollars, which translate to 514 new Biketown for All members that can sign up with their first month free. And there are already 72 new members taking advantage of this. So I mentioned that on average, Biketown for All members rebalance about 24 bikes a year, translating to $24 in Biketown credit that can be used to continue membership. But we also have some superstars amongst our Biketown for All members. Here's one of them, Lynn Stransky. He's our front runner for rebalancing the most bikes in our system. Lynn has moved over 1,068 bikes back to stations as of the end of last year. I think well over 1,100 at this point, and has moved up to 40 bikes in one day. Part of Lynn's words, he says, "I like the challenge of bringing bikes back to the stations. My goal is to get up to $1,800 in Biketown credits, so I have the next 50 years paid for. Rebalancing bikes has helped me walk and bike a lot more and works together with my changes in diet to give me better health." So we thank Lynn and other super balancers who help keep our Biketown system balanced. And now I turn it over to Liz Horman, who will talk to us about Adaptive Biketown.
Great, thanks, Roshan. My name is Liz Horman, and I'm the program manager for Adaptive Biketown. Adaptive Biketown is Portland's adaptive bike rental program that is focused on increasing access to biking for people with disabilities. The program was launched in July 2017 and has operated over the last 2 summer seasons as a pilot project. This pilot phase was a partnership between PBOT and Albertina Kerr Bikes with program sponsors of Nike, Different Spokes, and Metro. So a little more on the background of how the pilot project was developed. Adaptive Biketown was really born out of a mistake. When Biketown launched in the summer of 2016, the program had not fully considered how it would provide access to people who were not able to or not comfortable riding 2-wheeled bicycles. And this was quickly followed by 2 formal requests for accommodation to the city, as well as direct feedback from people with disabilities and their family members, including Commissioner Udaley. At the time, the commissioner in charge of PBOT and the PBOT director directed staff to develop a program that would address the specific needs and the requests that the Bureau was hearing from the community. So staff began having a number of one-on-one meetings and talking with a number of people with disabilities, with community organizations that serve older adults, as well as people with disabilities, and others within the adaptive bike community within Oregon and around the country. Additionally, we hosted a broader online survey that was distributed through these community organizations, as well as Portland's Disability News, which is run out of the Office of Community and Civic Life. And really, we wanted to hear about how people would use a bike share system and what elements were most important to them. So out of those conversations, 3 key themes really started to emerge. The first was a desire for a staff service. People wanted help getting fitted on adaptive bikes, as well as using other adaptive equipment that would help them ride. Second was access and close proximity to multi-use trails. This was because people expressed a desire to ride for recreation as opposed to their transportation needs, and they felt most comfortable riding on our multi-use paths and trails. And finally, there was a request for a place to be able to store their mobility device or their service animal during the ride. So using these 3 concepts, staff worked with an extremely dedicated work group to finalize those program development pieces and get ready for launch in 2017. That work group actually met every month for about a 5-month period from January to that July date to really get this program off the ground. As I mentioned earlier, the pilot phase of Adaptive Bike Town has run for 2 years. We're about to enter our 3rd year of the program with a more formal contract with Kerr Bikes to make this program permanent. So how does Adaptive Bike Town work? As I'm sure you can already tell, it functions a little bit differently than a traditional bike share system. So first, a participant can make a reservation via our online rental portal. This allows and ensures that the bike is available when somebody wants to ride, but also allows them to provide some information about themselves to help the fitting process. However, a program participant can also just drop into the Kerr Bikes OMSI location and rent a bike on the spot. Next, the participant works with our great Kerr Bike staff to get fitted on the bike and get ready for their ride. And then they can ride. They can take the bike wherever they'd like to. We've had people go out to Selwood and beyond, take them out to their neighborhoods. The one piece is that then they'll need to return the bike to the Kerr Bikes location at the end of their ride. So again, this process really was developed to respond directly to what the community was asking for and why it made so much sense to partner with Kerr Bikes, an existing bike rental shop. So our current Adaptive Bike Town fleet has about 15 bikes and is comprised of tricycles, hand cycles, as well as tandems. In 2018, thanks to a sponsorship grant from Nike, we were actually able to add some additional program bikes. We added an additional side-by-side tandem, which was one of our most popular rentals during the first year, as well as adding 2 e-assist tricycles. After that first year, we had a number of requests from users asking, can we add some e-assist bikes that would help people ride longer and further on these adaptive bikes? So 2018 was a great successful year for Adaptive Bike Town. Over the 6 months of our season, we had 189 rentals, which was up 220% from our 2017 season. We also participated in all 5 Sunday Parkways events, including the first ever Everyone Rides event at the June Sunday Parkways. This was an adaptive bike clinic that was focused on youth, but also other adults, where they could test out various adaptive bikes in a closed-off area that was right along the Sunday Parkways route. Additionally, in 2018, 87% of our riders qualified for TriMet's Honored Citizen Pass, which are people with disabilities, Medicare recipients, and seniors aged 65 and older, really showing that Adaptive Bike Town is serving the people we intended with the design of the program. So, next one. So finally, I just wanted to wrap up with some of the positive feedback we're hearing about the program. You'll hear some more from our invited testimony later, but this feedback is really a testament to the work of our work group participants, as well as the day-to-day operations of the Kerr Bike staff. So Deidre Hall was a member of our work group and has attended nearly every Sunday Parkways over the last 2 years to be an Adaptive Bike Town ambassador. She's ridden the routes, spreading the word about the program, that she's very excited about. She wasn't able to attend today, but wanted to share sort of a written statement she'd prepared. So this is from Deidre. I have been fortunate to be a part of this incredible program since the formation of the pilot. Being involved from the planning to implementation has been not only a professional success, but a personal one as well. A person with a disability myself, I hadn't ridden an adaptive bicycle since childhood, and I was so thrilled to be given the opportunity to do so as an adult. People with disabilities have little to no choice what adaptive equipment they use for mobility, and Adaptive Biketown offers folks the ability to choose, within their abilities, a recreational vehicle of sorts to experience our beautiful city in a new way, which is not only fun, but also good for the body, the mind, and for the soul. Watching the program take shape and the smiles on the faces of my fellow disability community members, experiencing the excitement and empowerment of adaptive bicycle riding, many for the first time, has been priceless. And I have and will continue to be an active ambassador at as many events as I can and spread the word and encourage people to participate in this incredible program. So again, just want to thank Deidre for her kind words and her work throughout the lifetime of this program. So now I'm going to hand this over to Steve Hoyt Macbeth that's going to talk about expansion and
Great
RFP.
report. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Hoyt Macbeth. I'm the section manager in PBOT's Active Transportation and Safety Division, and I'm the overall manager for our Biketown program. As we tried to communicate today, we believe that Biketown is meeting the primary goals that Council directed it to meet when we first initiated the program, which is increasing transportation choices, increasing bicycle access, especially to underserved communities, and to reduce reliance on automobiles, reducing car trips, and reducing car ownership. So what's always bothered us, both on the staff level and we know on the community level, is that while we've done a lot of great things with Biketown, we've never been able to serve all of Portland. There's many parts of Portland that do not have access to Biketown, even though we've done 2 expansions in terms of the service area since we kicked the program off in the summer of 2019. And the primary reason 2016, sorry, I'm battling our illness right now, so I'm half here. But my spirit's here very strongly, but cognitively I'm about half here. So the main primary reason for that is simply funding. When we first went after the grant that Director Warner mentioned in 2012, the council gave us a direction that no city funds should be used toward the operation of the program. And we've tried, as we said, through kind of the creativity of our system to increase the service area. We haven't been able to increase the number of bicycles that are available in the system, which has meant that the access to the system in terms of how reliable it is has been limited. So thankfully, we have an opportunity to remedy that situation. Our contract with our operator expires this year, and we plan to put out a new RFP to bring the system back up for an expansion. And in this time, the business model and kind of the economics of bike share has changed significantly. In the past 12 months, we've seen significant investment in private capital into many of the major bike share companies. And so it's allowed us to craft an RFP that really has the goal that we've had all along, which is to serve the entire city with bike share. And as part of that expansion, a major part of it will be prioritizing expansion into underserved neighborhoods. So when we do expand as part of the result of the new RFP, the first neighborhoods that will come on board will be areas that have been historically underserved, that are not currently served by Biketown. Secondly, we want to make sure that Biketown is as attractive to as many trips as possible, and that it's attractive to people who either are just not interested in biking in its current form, or because of physically they may have challenges to biking. So one of the primary components of the new RFP will be a requirement of electric assist bicycles that will allow us to attract more rides, and also with our expansion into outer neighborhoods, which from the data suggests that trips in outer neighborhoods tend to be longer. The electric assist will allow users in our outer neighborhoods to have biking be more conducive to more trips. And from the research that we've seen in both Europe and the US, people are biking at much greater rates when electric bikes are available. And also the disparity that we see between men and women in riding is pretty much eliminated with e-bikes. So even though Portland has one of the better representations of women within the ridership of bike share, we still see a significant gap between men and women. So we're hoping that e-bikes will allow us to remedy that to a certain extent. And then finally, we really want to see adaptive bikes as part of the on-demand Biketown system. So that would be the first time that any major bike share system has incorporated adaptive bikes as part of an on-demand system. There are some small campus systems that do have adaptive bikes, but it's never been really kind of shown as in a major way. And so this is the third main component of the new RFP that we'll see. And I'll just say that with the incorporation of adaptive bikes into the Biketown system, we plan to keep the adaptive Biketown program because, as Liz mentioned, we heard so strongly and clearly from the community that we're trying to serve that many of them needed a service that had a staff service and the ability to be fitted on the bike and also to store either a mobility device, a service animal, or just some of their materials. So this would likely be a three-wheel trike for people who do not use a mobility device but still do not feel comfortable or able to ride a conventional two-wheel bike. That is the end of our PBOT staff testimony. We do have a number of invited testimony members, and I guess with the pleasure of the mayor, we would like to invite them up, or would you like to have staff comments at this time?
First of all, I think we have some questions for this panel, and then let's go ahead and bring it up. Commissioner Fritz.
Yesterday, didn't we hear about a budget ask for the adaptive bike program? Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, we had, as part of our general fund request, we had asked for $50,000 in terms of trying to help the program. And so, we've talked internally if that's, we'll have to figure out what to do. Like you asked yesterday, we'll have to figure out how to pay for that if we don't get the general fund money.
Right. Because, as was pointed out in the presentation, by the way, thank you. It was an excellent presentation. I really was inspired by it. It's an accommodation that's required. So I'm wondering why that's not part of the request for proposals that, just like we did with Uber and Lyft, that they had to provide some kind of mechanism for people with disabilities to get car rides. Why isn't it going to be part of the request for proposal?
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. As we mentioned, no other city, any major bike share city, has incorporated adaptive bikes into their on-demand fleet, and staff anticipates a fair amount of staff time on our part in order to make sure that incorporation is done in a thoughtful manner, in a skilled manner. What we've learned over time is that an industry in general oftentimes has good intentions, but is not always the best driver of innovation when it comes to equity. And so we felt part of that request was for just trying to compensate for the staff time to make sure that happens in a meaningful and thoughtful manner.
Okay, I still think it should be a required accommodation under the Americans with Disability Act, that it's not optional, I'm assuming, for private companies to not provide services any more than it is for us. Thank you.
Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation. Thank you so much. So I'm going to show how uneducated I am on this terminology. What is an e-bike?
Electric bike.
Oh, an electric bike. I kept sitting here going, what's an e-bike? What is an e-bike, right? And you talked about the new RFP will address historically underserved districts. However, the historically underserved districts now look very, very new, right? But the new underserved districts, however, are the ones that are filled with low-income people and people of color. So if I was responding to an RFP that talked about the historically underserved district, I'd be all in the inner Northeast Portland trying to put as many bike racks up as I could, right? Because traditionally, that would have been a very underserved community. How are we going to ensure that folks in East Portland have the same opportunities that folks downtown and in Northeast currently enjoy?
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. The RFP refers specifically to East Portland.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I think just that was just me trying to compress a meaning, so my apologies on that. And my apologies also for speaking in code around electric bikes.
Just sitting here feeling so.
Does it reference Deep Southwest as well?
The only requirement that we speak in the RFP to the entire city of Portland, so that's the goal, is the entire municipal boundaries of the city of Portland. In terms of a phasing of the project, we have phased East Portland as a priority area because of other investments that we have there and partnerships that we have in that area.
Or when you get to Southwest, make sure you've got plenty of those electric bikes.
Yeah, for the hills.
Excellent.
Because having to go uphill.
All right, this is going downhill fast. Commissioner Daly.
Was that a transportation pun, Mayor? Sorry. So thanks for the great presentation. You answered half of my questions. I'm thrilled to hear that we're looking to both better serve the whole city and expand access to adaptive bikes, which, as mentioned, I had a small part in that just by running my mouth in the media. And while I'm, pleased that we have this really specialized, somewhat labor-intensive offering where people can get custom, somewhat customized bikes and, or at least fitted to them, and the storage and the one-on-one. There's plenty of people, like you said, that don't need that level of service. They, there's a lot of people who don't know how to ride bikes, but also just may have almost invisible challenges that make bike riding dangerous or impossible. So just a couple quick questions. One is, and I apologize if you already answered this, what's the income cutoff for our low-income program?
There's no income cutoff. It's basically if you qualify for other social services, or if you have an Oregon Trail card, or so if you qualify for other low-income
Okay.
programs, you automatically qualify for Bike Town for All.
And that would be the only way? Okay. I'm just curious because I'm, again, glad we have that program, and I have nothing to compare it to say whether or not we're reaching enough people, but I certainly know that there's, thousands of very low-income people in our community, and just a few hundred of them are using it. So I'm going to just flag that as a concern. Just do people know how to access that program? And also, is our kind of means testing reasonable, considering how low income you have to be to qualify for food stamps, for instance?
Sure. And there is an option when you're signing up, if you're unsure, if you're low income, reach out directly. And I have had people call directly, and then I just talk to them. And there have been people that have said, I've recently transitioned into this, but I haven't gotten my Oregon Trail card, or I haven't signed up, or I don't, they're in that transitional phase. And so that's kind of at our own,
Sure.
so that does come up.
Commissioner Daly, if I could add, I'm not aware of any person who has applied for the Bike Town for All program who we have denied.
Great.
And I think that you spoke to the greater barrier that we face, which is just getting the word out in education. We've used a variety of both grassroots and kind of social media tools to try to get the word out. We try to partner with as many community organizations as we can, both social service and just more community-based organizations. So really for us, the challenge is just trying to reach people and to make those community connections. And we found, such as with Street Roots, which is one of the our invited testimony, that we do the best when we have those strong connections to do so.
Great. And that kind of, I guess, public awareness piece leads me to my next question, which is, I'm not a Bike Town user. I have my own bike, and as a relatively small frame person, I find the bikes a little unwieldy. And I do see people who I'm going to assume are tourists using the bikes improperly, whether they're riding on downtown sidewalks, they're riding the wrong way on our bike paths, they're riding down MLK, which is just terrifying to me to see. Do we offer any kind of basic information about how to safely ride a bike in our city, because we have kind of unique rules and infrastructure, perhaps?
We do, and we see the same things that you see. I think it's the challenge of having an on-demand transportation service that involves biking, both in the app and then actually right in the inset of the basket. So something that if you're looking down, it says, no biking on sidewalks, obey all traffic laws. We don't say anything about not riding on arterials. We hope that that's just an intuitive thing for people.
It is not, apparently.
Yes, but that is a challenge, and we're hoping in the new RFP that we'll be able to see more things happen through the app that kind of give people some more cues on how to use things
Yeah,
wisely.
I mean, people may not like this, but I just went through an experience at Randall Children's Hospital where I had to demonstrate that I had watched a series of videos about PIC lines before I could take my son home. So maybe we need to make people watch a series of short videos or answer questions on basic safety. I just, as someone who feels personally responsible for everyone who is hurt on our streets, I'm interested in that safety issue. And then finally, I'll just say that unfortunately, none of the major bike share vendors are adequately serving people with disabilities. I mean, as we know, there's a lot of loopholes in the ADA, and people just flout the laws altogether. So I do want to push that. Maybe we can spark change in the industry, but it is a situation where it's a relatively low volume and, hard to serve, low profit. We probably are going to have to continue to partner and put some city resources into meeting the needs of all people with disabilities who want to access our program.
Commissioner Fritz and then Commissioner Hardesty.
Chris Hardesty keeps yielding to me, so I'll leave it to you.
Oh, no worry. Actually, Commissioner Udeli led me to a question that I always ask. Is it required that people use helmets on these bikes?
It's on the instructions. It's on the list of things inside the.
It's encouraged,
basket.
but you have to be currently 18 years to use Biketown legally, or by the user agreement. And at that age, you are not required by state law to wear a helmet. So there's not a requirement to use the helmet. In all of our materials, we encourage people to wear a helmet, but it's not a requirement.
And that was because I badgered them when we were having it in place, to at least put the sign in. So, Commissioner Daly, I'm so excited to hear you saying that you should have to watch a video or something to figure it out. Do we have statistics on either crashes or minor accidents where people have fallen off and grazed their knees or whatever?
We have not had any reports of major injuries on Biketown. And given the litigious nature of our society, we know it's not an accurate read of the actual numbers, but we would assume that if somebody had a serious crash on Biketown, we would know about it through our legal department. And I think that actually resonates with North American data on safety on bike share. It has a very strong safety record in terms of the crash rate and actually having a much lower, especially serious crash rate than people riding private bicycles.
Well, that's what we were told, and it actually relates to the clunkiness of the heavy weight of the bikes, that they're relatively difficult. It would be good in future reports to affirmatively tell us that they haven't, and in particular, presumably people have carelessly not stood them up properly and they've fallen over, they've gotten damaged or whatever. It would be interesting and helpful to me to know what kind of a damage record do they have beyond, your expected flat tires.
One last question for me, I guess. So we have now had a trial with scooters, and I've heard just anecdotally that did not impact bike share, but I'm wondering if you have any data on that you could share with us.
Yeah, Steve can probably the numbers, but yeah, it was somewhat surprising because the numbers didn't drop. I think there have been anecdotal from other cities where once the bike share system was introduced, or the scooters were introduced, that the bike share dropped off. But actually, we had some very strong months and was pretty consistent from the year before.
Yes, we saw, so we had a 22% increase year over year for 2018. During the scooter pilot, we saw a 6% increase in rides. And I think that what was surprising to us is that when in our scooter user survey, we asked people if they'd used particular modes in the past. Among scooter users who took the survey, 42% said they never biked, and 74% said they'd never used Biketown. So the e-scooters from the user survey, it seemed to suggest that people who use scooters were not previous Biketown members. In other words, that e-scooters were attracting new people to kind of like small machine sort of transportation modes.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. I don't know what to make of it yet. That is interesting. Okay. Great. So you have another panel, is that correct? All right. I'll let you introduce them. Thank you. Chris, do you want to introduce whoever's on the next panel?
I can introduce them. It's
Well, Carol needs no introduction. If she's the next panel, that's.
Wilkerson, Ryan Ross, Kaya Sand, and Clint Culpepper, and Bill Richmond.
Very good. And not to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm keeping my eye on our large novelty City Hall clock, just because we do have a full agenda this afternoon.
I've already got one of these.
Sure. You know, weirdly enough, I happen to have a bunch of these.
Okay.
We have more if you need to share.
Okay.
Fighting over them over
Chair, what's that?
I know,
That's
imagine.
one I was missing.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Miguel Villarreal, and I am representing Kaiser Permanente, and it is an honor to testify on behalf of Biketown. As a nonprofit health plan, Kaiser Permanente's mission is to provide high-quality, affordable healthcare services and to improve the health of our members and the communities we serve. Through our community health partnerships and investments, we go beyond our clinics and hospitals, working together to create places and policies that impact access to opportunity and health. We strive to facilitate health equity in our communities. This means engaging communities most impacted by health disparities and acknowledging and addressing current and historic injustices and discrimination. Our prioritized community health needs, which drive our areas of focus and investment, include access to healthcare, economic opportunity, including investments in affordable housing, oral health, mental health and wellness, and chronic disease prevention and treatment. It's not just about Kaiser Permanente members. Of course, we are a part of a community, and we are thrilled to partner with the City of Portland and Biketown to create neighborhoods in which physical activity is safe and accessible for all. The city had a vision, and Kaiser Permanente joined the ride about 11 years ago to bring Sunday Parkways to life, to neighborhoods, opening streets and parks to people of all ages and backgrounds. I want to thank the city for their leadership and commitment to opening our streets and neighborhoods and connecting. We believe that health is more than healthcare. That's why we partner with organizations and agencies across our region, like Biketown, to create health in neighborhoods, schools, and work sites. Sunday Parkways offers a fun way for people to be active with friends and family. People of all backgrounds, ages, and abilities enjoy moving their bodies in a safe and welcoming environment. And we are very excited about our 2019 plans, which include the ideas of exercise, food, music, and play as medicine. This summer, Kaiser Permanente will be prescribing the city of Portland a bike ride, great food, beautiful music, and time for play. With partners like Biketown, the health benefits of Sunday Parkways extend beyond physical activity into mental health and social connectedness. You see more smiles on the Sunday Parkways routes than any other place in Portland. Friends and neighbors interact in ways that may not happen otherwise, and that hopefully leads to stronger neighborhood connections and improved safety. Addressing individual and community health in this holistic way is critical now more than ever. Together, we will explore historic neighborhoods, local business districts, and places we never knew existed, each route having its own unique feel, complete with the best parks, amazing local food, and new friends. And I think it's a fair thing to say that we have something very special going on here, and we look forward to our continued partnership with the City of Portland and Biketown, and invite you to join us throughout the summer as we celebrate partnership, civic pride, amazing parks, safe, accessible streets, and most importantly, our total health. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fritz.
Just say that I really like the signs that you have up along the way, you know, the informational health signs like cinnamon is good for your brain. I liked that one a lot. I've been eating.
We have a lot of fun making those, so thank you for saying so, Commissioner.
Thank you. Keep
Thank
up
you.
the good work.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Good afternoon, Carol.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. My name is Carol Collymore, and I work as Senior Manager of Social and Community Impact at Nike. We are pleased and honored to be title sponsors of Biketown because we know the power of sport moves the world, and in this case, moves our city. Portland is a vibrant place to live, and because of its incredible energy and maker quality, this is the perfect city for a bike share collaboration to succeed. And Biketown has succeeded. With Biketown, we honor place, our roots, and the past, present, and future of Nike and Portland together. Portland is also our home, and it's home for over 12,000 of our teammates. Biketown also gives Nike the opportunity to engage the community through design. Since its launch in 2016, the iconic orange Biketown bikes have been a strong part of the city's personality. Fun, bold, active, and innovative. It's a great tribute to Portland. Since then, we've launched the Air Max Safari sneaker collection wraps and Be True collection wraps that celebrate our LGBTQI and A friends and family. We introduced the Biketown Design Challenge as our way of celebrating Biketown and Portland's community that's embraced it. We invited all Oregonians to show us what the city means to them through their artistic talent and unique spin on Biketown. We had 5 amazing winners in the design collection, and I'm sure you've seen the amazing bikes, from the Paul Bunyan bike from North Portland to the gorgeous Pistachio bike with all of our favorite Southeast locales. Now, we didn't plan for my 2 favorite bikes to be here, but we work so well together, they read my mind. In 2019, we are using that spirit of engagement through design by introducing the Culture Collection. The Culture Collection wrap celebrates some of the communities and cultures that make up the fabric of Portland. Our first 2 releases honored Black History Month and Women's History Month. They were made in collaboration with Black Employees and Friends Network and the Women of Nike and Friends, part of Nike's employee networks that are collectively called Nike United. Both networks led the design process for their unique bike wraps, and both of them are also behind me. Future Culture Collection designs will also be created in collaboration with our other Nike employee networks. Finally, we want to support Portlanders who want to use alternative transportation, but a Biketown bike may not be accessible for them. For the last 2 years, we've been a sponsor of Adaptive Biketown, resulting in adding electric assist adaptive bikes. In conclusion, Nike is happy to be a partner with Portland Bureau of Transportation and Lyft in this one-of-a-kind collaboration. I am personally grateful to work with Steve Hoyt-Macbeth and Tom Roskup and Dorothy Mitchell on this work. Thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Wilkerson. Thank you. Thanking to Peabody and City Council for inviting me today to share my experience using Adaptive Biketown. I come here today to share my perspective as a member of the disability community, which is the largest minority in the world and the least able to advocate for themselves. I come here today to make 2 points. One, it is special when government and business can come together and declare that inclusivity and accessibility are important. In short, it validates our right to equality. People with disabilities face a lot of stigma. I know I often feel a sense of liability when asking for accommodations in public, or that somehow I'm a burden to resources. Disability in general is simply misunderstood, and it's difficult to counteract that. Like I said, people with disabilities are the least able to self-advocate. We need business and government to come together and say adaptability and accessibility are important. This program indirectly promotes the idea that it's okay to adapt. Accessibility is not a burden, and people with disabilities have the right to access the same experience as everybody else. My second point is that this is really fun. I come from the East Coast, and the city is beautiful. I love the chance to see a side of Portland that I would not be able to see without this program. Also, you know, I'm still getting used to these long, dark winters, and you know, this program is a great way to. This program provides a very easy way to exercise and rehabilitate myself after mental. Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it. Thank you for your continued advocacy. The only thing I disagree with you on is I thought the winters on the East Coast were much darker and much longer.
Well, yeah, well, there's more concrete, so it offsets.
And more shoveling.
Yeah,
A lot more shoveling. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Ryan Ross. I'm here representing Albertina Kerr Centers and Kerr Bikes as the operational arm of Adaptive Bike Town. At Albertina Kerr, our vision is that all people thrive in nurturing and inclusive communities, and that we can empower people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health challenges, and other social barriers to lead self-determined lives and discover their full potential. At Kerr Bikes, we want to create an environment where our clients can enjoy active recreation, feel comfortable navigating new social environments, and learning new job skills, and where we can commit to a quality customer service experience and give back to the public we serve. We've incorporated Adaptive Bike Town into that mission because it seemed already apparent to us in working with our clients for over 10 years. We know firsthand that not everyone can ride a traditional upright two-wheel bicycle. And prior to Adaptive Bike Town, we already offered some 3- and 4-wheel bicycles that offer a more secure and thus more fun riding experience to these clients. It seemed natural to us that we might explore other riding options and new technologies to expand on the different needs we could meet in our community. You heard Liz speak about our work in the work group and what it is people wanted out of an adaptive bike share program. One of those key needs was direct access to a recreational riding area free of cars. Our location near OMSI on the east waterfront has been instrumental in providing access to the downtown waterfronts and Springwater corridor as a means for fun and easy riding. And to be able to show off some of my favorite places to ride and the forward-thinking infrastructure planning of this city has been a complete joy I experience with every new rider. My personal experience with Adaptive Bike Town is very unique in that we strive to meet the very unique demands of every client. To be able to take time to fit, inform, and converse about their needs has a direct impact on every experience. It's so incredible to see the positivity and joy in providing a program where we can tell people that they matter, that we want them to have fun, that we want them to have the freedom with how they spend their time and not be burdened with the highly prohibitive cost of specialized equipment and fitting experience. I routinely am met with gasps and smiles when explaining the program and the mere $5 it costs to ride. We've worked closely with other programs like Safe Rides to School and the Street Trust to help provide new means of transport outside of the waterfront area. It warms my heart to know that no children are left out of these amazing rides and programs because they might require something a little different. It is always a great experience meeting tourists as well, who enjoy our program and are just blown away at what we can offer. It helps to maintain the view that Portland is an incredibly forward-thinking city years ahead of its time when thinking about the quality of life of all of its citizens. It is for these reasons we are thrilled to stay on as the operational arm of this program and advocate for more programs like it. I've already spoken with other city coordinators from around the nation who are using our program and partnership as a model to bring recreation and transportation innovation to their cities.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you all. Does that complete the presentation? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners Daly, Fritz, Hardesty, and Fish. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler. I'm Kaya Sand, and I'm the Executive Director of Street Roots. We are a weekly newspaper that creates income opportunities for people struggling with homelessness and poverty. We work with about 160 people a week, about half of whom are homeless, who come to our office to purchase issues for a quarter that they can then sell for $1. So it's a way to get cash in pocket. It's a way to get a hand up. We're low barrier, meaning that anyone can walk into our office on Tuesdays and Fridays, go through orientation, and begin selling Street Roots on public sidewalks. People often try to establish sales posts that are regular so that they can get to know customers and establish regular sales. They have to spread out so that they're no more than 2 blocks from each other in downtown, 4 blocks on the east side. So what this means is that earning income is contingent on transportation. People need to get to their sales posts. And to give you a picture, people often pay for their issues of Street Roots with nickels, dimes, and quarters. So every coin is scarce. The more affordable, the more free transportation is for people, the more opportunity they have to get some income in their pockets. Biketown for All has proven to be an important partner in this regard. Because of the Pay It Forward program, our vendors don't have to come up with cash up front. And because they can earn $1 for every bike they return, they can aspire to keep access virtually free. I can picture one of our vendors, Mark, donning the orange sunglasses and the helmet with his brightly colored socks, just animatedly going around returning bikes to make sure that he has that free access. So this is really an important piece of the whole program. And I want to emphasize, too, how important coming to our location has been for access. So we have a trainer from Biketown for All named Scott who comes every month. He leads really animated, very warm workshops for our vendors, teaches them about safety, gives out helmets, signs up people to access the program. And what's really key about this is that people can feel comfortable in the space in which they're accustomed to and they don't have to go elsewhere. I think this makes all the difference in terms of Street Roots vendors accessing this program. So for our vendors at Street Roots, Biketown for All is not about simply leisure. It's about actually having access to badly needed income. So we at Street Roots are grateful for the partnership with Biketown for All.
Thank you, Kia. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mayor. Thanks for having me. My name is Phil Richmond. I'm here on behalf of the Street Trust today. The Street Trust envisions a region where all those who call our community home embrace walking, biking, and riding transit. Biketown fits almost perfectly in line with our vision. When Biketown launched, I simply had to join the program as a founding member, even if just as a show of support for something that could offer so much opportunity for so many people. I'm privileged to live near a frequent bus line, have a choice amongst my own bikes, cars, including an e-bike or electric bike, Joanne. But Biketown simply changed my world into something I'd never had in the past. Biketown has expanded my life, extending my range and willingness to participate in what I deem to be life's essential activities, and I know it can do the same for others, as we've heard. In less than 3 years since launch, I've ridden almost 1,400 miles on Biketown. So, therefore, I've written a love letter to Biketown, just to mix it up a little bit. Biketown, I love you. I have so many reasons why, almost too many to count, but I'll give it a try. I don't live in the zone, but I'm not alone. Where I work in the central city, you are always near. You see, almost every day you assure me I'll ride at least 2 bikes, not 1. Although if I lived in the zone, you might be the only one. Regardless of the hour, dark skies or rain, your full cover fenders, sticky tires, and chainless shaft drive help keep me dry, clean, and grounded. Your ability to accommodate all kinds of people leaves me astounded. Your step-through frame allows for high heels and skirts, and your easily adjustable seat offers a broad range of verts. And speaking of verts, that is vertical feet, your equally broad range of gears makes summiting the Morrison Bridge or Telecom Crossing an achievable feat. Being an annual member has its benefits too. You give 90 minutes a day without another dime paid, and you exclude almost no one because of their ability to pay, thanks to your Biketown for All program. As an annual member, you let me check out 4 bikes at a time per account and go dockless without fees. With you, the danger of theft is impossible, unlike my own bike if I am lockless or without keys. Your basket is protective, useful, and broad. Your integrated lighting system helps light up the road. Your ergonomic and upright position helps me feel safer, helping drivers see me and me see them. That is, if they don't notice first, your array of bright colors that keep people gawking. When I encounter other Biketown users on the roadway, sometimes it's a friend who keeps me from docking because we are talking. A few more paragraphs, please be patient.
Sorry.
You let me reserve you with an app, check you out with my TriMet card, put you on hold for an errand. You are certainly less expensive than driving alone or using an Uber, Lyft, or scooter. You keep me off the freeways and can be the fastest choice for an everyday commuter. Your adaptive Biketown program even offers more for those who have less ability. It's so nice to know using Biketown does not require special agility. Biketown, you know I love you, but no one is perfect. If I had to complain, it would be your glitchy buttons, your weight, your the limited size of your zone, your unreasonable age restrictions, or your uncanny ability to make me wish for protected bike lanes. And of course, there are times I wish you were electric so I could take you further. But Biketown, you know I'll always love you for as long as you will have me. Even your staff is talented, joyful, and diverse. I've gone on too long, so I will finish this verse. Biketown, the joy you give me and the way you have blended into the fabric of our community is astounding. I even paid it forward $50 so your impacts can be compounding.
We didn't even pay him to do that.
That was good.
Follow that.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Phil. That was definitely good. Maybe not as good as the song that Chloe and I got to hear yesterday, but a valiant
induced
effort.
demand.
Yes. My name is Clint Culpepper. I'm the Transportation Options Manager at Portland State University. We are home to the most diverse population that we have in the city, much more diverse than the city as a whole. And of our 27,000 students, 3,150, about 11.5%, have signed up to become Biketown members. If we achieved that kind of rate across the city, I think we'd be pretty thrilled. We started a program last July where Portland State picks up the tab for the membership for these students. And that's what drove that growth. Since then, our students have ridden over 55,000 miles, making over 34,000 trips. So we're looking forward to more of that growth as we get into the nicer weather. A large number of these students are international students, or students that have moved to Portland from elsewhere. Many have discovered bike share back home and find Biketown to be a comfortable and familiar way to discover their new home. PSU chose to become a partner because as we strive to meet our climate action goals, we're increasingly dependent on solving the last mile problem that we encounter with getting students on transit. We only hope to see that we have more bikes and an expanded service area in the near future so that more students can take advantage of it. We're a willing and excited partner of Biketown and have been happy to act as a test bed with new technology. We look forward to more of that as it comes forward. As we move into the nicer weather, nothing makes me happier than seeing our students navigating their city by bicycle, and Biketown is a large part of what makes that possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Udaly, a second from Commissioner Hardesty. Please call the roll, Keelan.
Fritz?
Thank you very much to everybody who's here today. Thank you to Nike for sponsoring this program, to former City Commissioners Steve Novick and Dan Saltzman for their leadership and partnership, and Commissioner Udaly for not only taking up the, well, it's not a baton, I don't know what, the bike pump, taking up the bike pump. Do they have bike pumps? I don't know.
Yes,
That does not
we do.
sound
I mean,
exciting.
I have a bike pump.
I'm just looking this up.
Bike pump?
Anyway, you've obviously taken this program and continue to expand and improve it, and I appreciate that very much. Aye.
Fish?
Thank you for an outstanding report. I was pleased to be at the Women's History event when Nike unveiled the bikes, and I met the members of the Nike team that designed them. I guess 2 of the bikes are here today. So great partnership with Nike. I was pleased to hear about the new RFP and the chance to go bigger. And I was also very pleased to hear about the growth in our accessibility for our bike program and our partnership with Albertina Kerr. So it's a feel-good presentation. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. I'm pleased to accept the report. Aye.
Hardesty?
I concur. I think this was, it's nice to know that we're thinking about how do we make biking more accessible to more people. Certainly East Portland needs to do a few things before it would be safe to actually ride a bicycle in my neck of the woods, and we're certainly working on that now. I was thrilled to see the program that allows for people with different abilities to be able to ride and participate, especially in community biking programs. And so this is a great report, and I thank you very much, and I vote aye.
Udaly?
Well, thanks for the report. I feel like we're absolutely moving in the right direction. I'm going to be following the adaptive bike question pretty closely. Looking forward to talking about that. I forgot one question, so I'm just going to put this out there. Perhaps in the RFP, we could require that in the event of a major earthquake, the bikes are released and people can use them to get around the city, because you will not be driving your car or taking a boat down the river or any of the other things you think you'll be able to do. I, of course, vote aye.
Wheeler?
Great report. Thank you. It's very thoughtful. Love Biketown. Love everything you do. Appreciative of Nike for continuing to support this very important program. Thanks to everybody for continually thinking about how we're going to innovate and expand the program and offer additional features to more people in the community going forward. I vote aye. The report's accepted. Thank you, everyone. Colleagues, as we discussed earlier, we're going to go in this order: 230, 231, 229. We're going to try and get those in hopefully before our next time certain. Keelan, if you could please read item 230.
Authorize a competitive solicitation and contract with the lowest responsible bidder and provide payment for construction of the Luther Road Restoration Project number E10854 for the estimated amount of $1,750,000.
Commissioner Fish.
Mayor and colleagues, Environmental Services manages the city's stormwater and sewer infrastructure, including the Lentz Sewer Interceptor pipe that crosses Johnson Creek near Southeast 72nd Avenue. In 2015, a series of large storms scoured the creek, causing erosion, changing stream flow, and exposing the pipe. Through this project, Environmental Services will serve two Bureau goals: protecting city infrastructure and restoring habitat to benefit salmon and water quality. The project will protect the exposed pipe, improve stream flow, and prevent erosion that can damage the stream, salmon habitat, and the adjacent properties. Construction is scheduled to begin in July and be completed within 4 months. Here to give a brief presentation are Joe Dvorak, Engineering Manager, and Chris Laster-Miski, Senior Engineering Associate, both from Environmental Services. Gentlemen.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Fish and members of council. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Dvorak, for the record, Design Division Manager for BES. I'll just lead in by describing the situation we have. So sewer pipe crossings under streams is fairly common in places like Portland, where you have an urban environment and a natural landscape that interface so closely. But what can happen over time is that stream will move, banks will erode, and potentially expose the sewer pipe. Back in the old days, we used to protect those exposed sewer pipes by bringing in large rocks or sometimes even pouring concrete in the stream channel. We've learned from those experiences, while that may protect the pipe, unfortunately that does nothing for the fish. It actually impedes fish passage. It does nothing for the natural system, the habitat, or even flooding of nearby properties. So today what we do strategically is we place those logs and rocks and stream bank plantings to really get multiple community benefits. So here, Chris Laster-Miski can talk more about the project specifically. Thank you.
I'm Chris Laster-Miski, Project Manager, and I'm pleased to present the Luther Road Restoration Project. So the project is located along the Springwater Corridor and bounded to the south by Johnson Creek Boulevard and to the east by 82nd Avenue. This site is one of multiple sites within Johnson Creek watershed. In 2015, a series of winter storms caused considerable creek bank erosion and exposed a large diameter combined sewer pipe. The storms also caused damage to a previous project at the site. In 2016, an evaluation of the site was conducted and recommendations were made for repair and restoration. Based on these recommendations, the project will repair the creek around the exposed pipe, repair the eroded stream banks to protect adjacent properties and infrastructure, and install large wood to protect stream banks and increase fish habitat, plant and protect native vegetation, and restore stormwater facility functionality. Protect existing infrastructure. The problem, a large diameter sewer pipe was exposed during the 2015 winter storm events. The solution, a roughened channel constructed of boulders and cobbles, will be installed to protect the sewer from being re-exposed, as well as provide fish passage. Also, large wood will be installed to protect the stream bank from erosion. Protect and enhance habitat. The problem, there's very little vegetation and large wood established on the site. The solution will increase the amount of in-stream large wood throughout the project site. The large wood provides shade and shelter to salmon and other aquatic species. After construction is complete, BES will plant native riparian vegetation throughout the project site. Once established, the trees and shrubs will provide shade to the creek, and the roots will help protect the stream bank from erosion. Restore intended function to the stormwater facility. The problem, the stormwater facility is not draining properly due to storm damage, and the solution is to regrade the outlet structure to install a cobble berm to allow drainage of the cool treated stormwater to Johnson Creek. And contract estimate is $1.75 million. Start date is July 2019. The duration is 4 months. Questions?
Impressive. That was really a question.
Pardon me?
I said it's impressive.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Is there any public testimony on this item?
One person has signed up, Curtis Faith.
Come on up. 2 minutes, name for the record, please. You guys can leave, thanks.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. No testimony for this item.
This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance, moves to second reading. Item 231, please read that.
Amend contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for additional construction and startup support services for the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant Renewable Natural Gas Facility, project number E10033, not to exceed $222,800.
Commissioner Fish.
Colleagues, in 2017, City Council authorized environmental services to turn biogas, a byproduct of wastewater treatment that is mostly methane gas, into clean, renewable natural gas. BES already had been recovering and using about 77% of this biogas. This project will take us to virtually 100% recovery, and it will create a new product, a clean, non-fossil fuel for trucks which otherwise run on dirty diesel. The project, which we informally call Poop to Power, creates a triple win for Portland. Large reductions,
He loves saying that. I'm sorry.
large reductions.
Yeah, it seems gratuitous now, Commissioner Fish. It seems like you're just sneaking it in.
This is for the benefit of our newest member, come on. The project creates a triple win for Portland. Large reductions in climate pollution, big gains in clean air, and additional significant revenue, upwards of $3 million a year for ratepayers. Environmental Services is in the home stretch of construction of its RNG facility and has determined that it needs to amend its contract with HDR Engineering by 15%, or $228,800, the maximum amount of RNG that can be produced. Here today to give a brief presentation are Paul Sudo, Engineering Manager, and Vu Han, Project Manager, both from Environmental Services. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Commissioner Fish. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Paul Suto, Engineering Manager for the Treatment and Pumping Systems Division at BES. Wuhan, the Project Manager, will provide the presentation, and I'll be here to answer any questions that arise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and members of the City Council. My name is Vu Han. I'm an engineer in the Wastewater Engineering Division at the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant. We are here today to request the City Council approval for an ordinance to authorize a contract amendment with HDR Engineering for the RNG, short for Renewable Natural Gas Project. The project location is the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant in North Portland, as shown in this aerial photo. And the RNG facility is on the west side of the treatment plant campus, as indicated. The original treatment plant was constructed in 1952 and has expanded over the years to the current layout, as you can see in the photo. It serves pretty much the entire city of Portland service area with a population of over 600,000 people. The wastewater treatment plant process produces biogas, a byproduct from anaerobic digestion process. On a daily average, the plant produces about 1.6 million cubic feet of biogas a day. Of this biogas volume, about 77% of it is beneficially used currently, with the remaining 23% is flared through the waste gas burners to the atmosphere. This pie chart shows the current distribution and utilization of the biogas at the treatment plant. Starting from the upper left, About 41% is used in the cogeneration system to produce electricity used on site. And the recovered heat from this process is used to heat the digesters. Roughly 16% is used in 2 sets of boilers for supplemental heat to the digesters and various building heat uses on site. About 20% is sold to the nearby Malarkey Roofing Company for their manufacturing processes. The remaining 23% is still flared off through the waste gas burners to the atmosphere, which is the basis for the project to address.
Can you go back just for 1 second? Just one slide back. Colleagues, I just want to call out the partnership with Malarkey, which we pipe methane gas to. Malarkey uses the methane gas in their treatment process to create roofing materials, and then they sell those roofing materials in Portland. So that's been a long-standing partnership and an interesting way of using a byproduct of waste facilities. I always thought Malarkey should have some kind of like tagline, a business you can trust, Malarkey. But they probably need to do some rebranding, but they've been very successful. And as you know, there's a building on East Portland, in East Burnside that came to council in the last year and a half that was controversial from the Design Commission, where they're using Malarkey roofing products on the side of the building, not just the roof. And we'll see how that holds up. Thank you.
Thank you. This project will add gas treatment systems to convert biogas produced at the wastewater treatment plant to RNG for beneficial use, specifically as a vehicle fuel. The project benefits include significant revenue generated from sales as a vehicle fuel, positive impact to climate change in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and cleaner air to the environment in displacing petroleum fuels. You might ask, once RNG is produced, how do we transport to the end users? This graphic illustrates the displacement model to transport RNG. The left side of the slide shows biogas is produced in the anaerobic digesters, gets treated to natural gas quality to produce RNG, and then gets injected into the Northwest Natural Gas main for transporting. Northwest Natural Gas Company is a partner in this arrangement to help us transport the RNG. We also have a CNG, short for compressed natural gas, fueling station on site, and it is shown on the right of this slide. The CNG fueling station is located on the opposite side of the RNG facility on site. An RNG to CNG fueling station will be transported in the same arrangement. In fact, once injected into the Northwest Natural Gas pipeline, with the displacement model, RNG can be transported to anywhere in the country. This map shows CNG fueling stations in the U.S. that RNG could be transported to. However, our RNG will likely be transported and sold only to Oregon or California. Currently, these are the only 2 states in the country with additional low-carbon fuel programs that we can receive extra carbon credits, and we can sell those to increase our revenue streams. This diagram illustrates the biogas production and utilization at the Columbia Boulevard wastewater treatment plant when the RNG project is completed. The left side of the diagram shows the different feedstocks that go into the anaerobic digesters to produce biogas. The right side shows the uses of the produced biogas. All biogas produced will be 100% beneficially used and we will no longer have excess biogas for flaring to the atmosphere. In addition, we will have the ability to prioritize the biogas distribution based on the values of the biogas uses to maximize revenue. As Commissioner Fish mentioned earlier, we are in the home stretch of the construction of the RNG facility. It is anticipated to be completed and online in the fall of this year. The picture on the left shows water scrubbing vessels of the gas treatment system. As mentioned previously, we have a CNG fueling on site shown in the photos on the right. It was completed in December 2017 and is now operational. We received a $319,000 tax credit from ODO, which was applied toward the construction cost of the station. Currently, BES has 13 vehicles that run on CNG and will add more in the future. Because RNG is not yet available, the CNG vehicles currently run on natural gas, which is already a clean fuel compared to diesel or gasoline. When RNG is available, RNG will replace natural gas at this fueling station. The current project budget for the RNG facility is about $13.6 million. We project revenue to be in the range of $3 million to $10 million a year, and a simple payback for the project within 3 to 8 years. So why do we want to do this RNG project? First and foremost, it will get us to 100% recovery and beneficial use of the biogas and no more flaring to the atmosphere. In using RNG for vehicle fuel, it will cut down greenhouse gas emission, help reduce climate change, cleaner air to the environment, and most importantly, would generate at least $3 million a year for BES and ratepayers. The City Council has taken a number of actions in connection to this project. In 2013, the City Council authorized an ordinance for HDR Engineering to proceed with an alternative analysis to find the best and highest use for the remaining flared biogas. In 2015, the City Council authorized an ordinance for HDR Engineering to proceed with final design of the biogas utilization. In 2017, the City Council authorized several ordinances. One authorizing the construction of the RNG facility, another authorizing an RNG interconnection agreement with the Northwest Natural Gas Company, and a third authorizing an agreement with Northwest Natural Gas Company to build a CNG fueling station at the wastewater treatment plant. This item 231 requests the City Council approval to increase HDR Engineering contract by $222,800, or about 17% roughly of the current contract amount. The current contract amount is $1,294,010. The amended contract will be $1,516,810. There are two primary reasons for the requested amendment. One is the design capacity of gas treatment system needed to be larger than originally anticipated to address biogas storage issues, which will also provide flexibility to optimize biogas distribution and maximize revenue. Another reason is that the Columbia Boulevard wastewater treatment plant is one of the first, not necessarily the first, but one of the first wastewater treatment plants in the country to do RNG for vehicle fuel. So the learning curve was very steep. A lot more effort than anticipated in the permitting and submittal reviews of equipment packages of the project. For minority participation of the contract, that's DMWESB, or Disabled Minority Women and Emerging Small Businesses, the current contract is about 18.2%. The amendment portion itself is about 18.4%, so it doesn't change the overall contract minority participation much, so it stays pretty much at 18.2%. In summary, we recommend the City Council approving the ordinance to authorize a contract amendment with HDR Engineering in the amount of $222,800 as presented. Thank you.
That's our presentation.
Very good, excellent. Is there any further question of the panel? Any public testimony on this item, Keelan?
Yes, one person has signed up,
All
Curtis
right.
Faith.
Very good, come on up. Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen, appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Curtis Michael Faith, for the record. I wanted to commend the city for this project. I've not seen another facility do as nice a job as this. I've toured the site 3 or 4 times over the last 6 months, and my question or my comments relate more to the amount and the way it is presented on the paper. It would have been nice to have the 17% in the original contract here, so I could have decided whether or not this was something that was worth commenting on. And I also don't know, but there must be some threshold below which you don't have to do this sort of thing. And it seems to me that this is sort of at the edge of something that I would propose the city might consider putting into the domain of the commissioner and just make a presentation that it's happened rather than having to get a city vote on it. $220,000 seems like an amount that by itself doesn't warrant a line item if it's an ongoing project that's already been fully explained. That's really my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is anything else, colleagues? This is the first reading of the non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Next item, 229.
Adopt revised comprehensive financial management policies, financial planning.
Yes.
What time is the next time, sir?
3:45. 3:45, so we're doing beautifully.
So I just want to highlight for something. I will, at the conclusion of the presentation, have a lot of questions. I cannot support this in its current form, and there are things that I think have to be further cooked before it can earn my support. So we have 10 minutes now before the next time certain. We can tee it up, and the council can do whatever it wants, but there's some issues I'm going to highlight for a council concern, which we're really not going to have a chance to fully vet before the next time certain. So, I mean, we can plow ahead and do them.
Let's go ahead and plow ahead, and let's see what the will of the council is at the end of this, and if we need to continue it, we'll continue it. But I'd like to go ahead and honor the comments that we made this morning, since this was actually teed up originally for this morning. We had an extraordinarily busy agenda today, and a number of the agenda items actually engendered much more discussion and debate than we anticipated. So here we are. Let me just say this resolution adopts 2 revised comprehensive financial management policies and a related procedure that addresses the city's financial planning process and the annual budget process. These policies were vetted during a citywide review and comment process. So we have Jennifer Cooperman here. She's the city's CFO to explain the revisions and give us a brief presentation.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And I'm joined by Jessica Kennard, Interim Budget Director as well. I'm here to present revisions to 2 of the city's comprehensive financial management policies, FIN 203 Financial Planning. I made changes to this but didn't print it out. FIN 203 Financial Planning, which has been revised to incorporate specific council direction for bureaus to do the following: to prioritize asset management as a citywide core business function, including life cycle costing and setting aside replacement reserves to support the city's investments in capital assets and equipment, and to ensure intergenerational equity. To develop long-term financial plans in addition to the currently required 5-year plans to improve the city's financial planning and budgeting processes, and to highlight and quantify in these financial plans and in the capital improvement plans any funding gaps with proposed strategies to address them. FIN 204 Budget has been revised to incorporate council direction for bureaus to do the following: to secure council approval for financial commitments such as bureau director decisions or litigation settlements of $500,000 or more after the current year budget is approved that a bureau's budget cannot accommodate, to absorb labor agreement costs that exceed inflation and include any resultant employee and/or service reductions in the financial impact statement that accompanies the labor agreement ordinance. Additional proposed changes to FIN 208 budget will do the following: change guidance for amending the budget during the year to, quote, urgent and unforeseen needs rather than needs that are just, quote, unanticipated, allow one-time resources to be used to address citywide liabilities that are not included in the city's 5-year forecast. It will codify the current practice of restricting capital set-aside resources to projects relating to emergency preparedness, parks and recreation, and transportation. It will consolidate the capital set-aside ranking and funding process to once per year during the annual budget process, rather than during both the fall supplemental budget and the annual budget process. And it will set certain limitations on the competitive special appropriations grant process. As the mayor mentioned, these policies were out for citywide comment. That was after a task force of Bureau budget staff helped craft these changes. I'd like to thank all the Bureau staff who devoted time to reading these and the handful of people who submitted comments. And we're available to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Fish.
I'm happy to follow any other colleagues. I've got a bunch of questions. So Jennifer, first of all, thank you for bringing this forward. And I have 3 issues. One, I want to see if it's actually part of your proposal. 2 is I'm going to raise an issue that I would like to be part of this proposal if possible. And 3 is I'd like to seek a clarification of one of the recommendations. So let's start with the first point. Does the proposals, the changes that you're recommending, do they address a situation where a bureau is sued to enforce compliance with some federal or state law and is therefore required to disclose that lawsuit and seek council approval before resolving the lawsuit?
It's intended, yes, that the litigation paragraph, the new litigation paragraph in FIN 204 would address that situation unless the Bureau's budget could accommodate that
Unless it could accommodate it.
already. And if it could accommodate it, then presumably that gets handled within the Bureau and with the Bureau Director and that commissioner in charge. But if the settlement requires an expense that is larger than their budget can accommodate, then it would be, the intent is that that would be brought for council discussion.
Before the
Before it's
litigation
agreed
is
to.
resolved.
Yes.
And this, of course, is I think it's fair to say this is a result of some thinking that of some concerns that we all had when the Portland Bureau of Transportation was sued because of inadequate curb cuts.
Yes.
And a settlement in the range of $100 million was being negotiated and discussed without disclosing that to the council. And since there was an expectation that there would be some general fund portion of pickup to resolve that case, the concern was that you can't have a bureau, this predates Commissioner Udaley's tenure, that you cannot have a bureau that takes on a contingent liability of that magnitude without having the council involved in the decision-making, including whether it's a good settlement, the timing of the settlement, and the payout. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm pleased to see that's in there. The second thing I want to bring to your attention is something which is in here, and it seems like a significant enough departure from current practice. I want to make sure my colleagues are all aware of what this would mean and also put some price tags on it. And it's on page 3.
Are you looking at FIN 203 or 204?
Oh, I'm sorry. 204
Okay.
was, I don't have it broken out that way.
There's also sort of a cheat sheet, the what's changed and why, also breaks these down into
Yeah.
little bite-sized
So,
pieces.
so
That
I
might
have it
be
in my
easier.
cheat sheet. It's page 3 of my cheat sheet under operating policies,
Yeah.
about halfway down the page.
Mm-hmm.
It says
So that's FIN 204.
Right.
FIN 204.
I'm confused. Why do I have something that says FIN 203 if we're talking about something?
We're doing both.
I don't see a 204.
Commissioner Udaley, do you see Do you have the four-page cheat sheet?
I have the what's changed sheet, yeah,
What's changed and why?
yeah.
So
So
it
the
should be
fir-
4 pages, and I'm on page 3.
Of the what's new and
Okay,
why?
of that, okay,
Yeah,
all
towards
right.
Of that,
bottom,
it's-
operating
it says on the
Okay.
left margin, about 2/3 the way down, operating policies.
Yes, got it.
And then the third box within operating policy says, quote, "Added that bureaus shall absorb labor agreement costs that exceed inflation. Employee and/or service requirements are to be included in the
Reductions.
FIS of labor agreement ordinance." So that's a pretty significant departure from our current practice. Could you, Madam Director, could you explain what our current practice is and why this is being proposed?
So I'm going to let Jessica talk about current practice, and then I can speak to some of the motivations behind this.
Good afternoon, Council. Jessica Kennard, Interim City Budget Director. So current practice for labor bargaining agreements is our HR labor team engages in negotiations when a contract is up and brings forward, before that contract expires, a negotiated agreement for council appropriation. But oftentimes, council is agreeing to this contract agreement and associated costs, not in concert with budget processes. So it's sort of on an off cycle and can be on an ad hoc basis. So part of this, the goal is to bring those processes, because there are significant cost implications associated with these agreements, into alignment with other budget decision-making processes.
Yes, but okay.
And so, yes.
I can understand why you'd want them to be on a certain timeline. I can understand why you'd want to have a certain level of communication. What I don't understand is why the host bureau would eat the costs of the labor negotiations above the rate of inflation, particularly where we have a history as a council of saying that low-wage workers should see their wages bumped up to a certain amount. That's a council policy. Why would that come out of the bureau's pocket rather than out of the CAL?
Absolutely. So the way that the proposal is written, so first, and part of the current practice is that council typically approves a contract, and the cost implications, whatever the general fund cost implications of that contract are, is automatically baked into the next CAL. So they're covered. They're sort of the resources are taken off the top. The current proposed change would first connect the immediate trade-offs of those increased costs with it encourages the bureau, or it requires the bureau to articulate what the trade-offs would be internally for them to absorb those costs, but it also allows for them to request those resources in the next budget cycle.
Well, let's take the example of something Commissioner Fritz shepherded through the council. We have an arbitration in which an arbitrator rules against the city on casual workers. We're required to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, and the council has a policy that is about, at least $15 an hour, which for some of the employees is well above the rate of inflation. What would have been the cost to parks if they had to absorb the costs above inflation?
So, and I'm trying to recall that precise
About $4 million,
conversation. Yeah,
and
so
I know
it's-
that because we actually did
Right.
put it then into a specific budget request in the next budget.
That's
What-
right.
And so, but Commissioner Fritz, let's extend that,
Yeah.
that point. If you had put it in a specific budget request and not have received the $4 million for that contract, where would you have found the $4 million?
We'd then have had to eat it.
Right.
We would then have had to find the savings within the bureau, and that was the policy choice that the council then made, as it turned erroneously that $4 million wasn't enough. But so it was very similar to what's being proposed here, except that we didn't upfront say to cut $4 million from the parks budget, you'd need to do this, this, and this. We had that discussion then in the budget process that either the council gave us an extra $4 million ongoing, or we would need to make $4 million of cuts at that time.
So, all right, so let me just be clear. It is well understood by my colleagues that anything above the rate of inflation on labor negotiations that are handled by a centralized office of this city that have specific labor reps handling it, anything above the rate of inflation, you are at risk. It is well understood that you are at risk of eating that cost out of your own budget?
Yes, and I support that. I think we had a discussion about this at a work session or maybe an executive session. But the point is that we want the Labour Relations team to understand this as well, that they can't be promising this, that, and the other in the contract, which then comes to us, and we have a choice of yes or no, not something in between.
I think the motivation is transparency and presenting you with trade-offs. And there are three constituencies that are at the table. There's the HR group, the labor negotiating group, the Bureau, and the council, and making sure that those three constituencies are aligned.
Okay, but just let's be very clear here. I've served on this council for 10 years. Under this rule, a commissioner in charge could play by this rule, have the council declare that there is a policy of paying people above the rate of inflation, could, because of financial circumstances, then subsequently require, against the commissioner in charge's desire or will, that the Bureau eat that cost increase. That is entirely plausible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the recourse is for the commissioner in charge to recommend against the labor contract, but would only be one of 5 votes.
Yes. So, and again, I think that the distinction is the cost will be absorbed by bureaus in one way or another. The question is whether the trade-off discussion is happening at the same time as many other budget conversations are, so in the context of all of the trade-offs that are being made around limited general fund resources, or if the labor bargaining expense is being taken off the top first, without the greater context of the other trade-offs that might be made citywide or even in that respective bureau.
Commissioner Hurtstein.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'm concerned that we will not be in the room negotiating the contract. We have human resource representatives with labor representatives that will come back with a contract that then will be voted on by the entire city council. It appears that we would be then the commissioner in charge would have their hands tied. And I agree with my colleague. Basically, we would be forced into a position of voting in opposition to a labor contract because we know the impact that it's going to have on the budget for the bureaus that we manage. Now, I just need to know, yeah, so I have 2 bureaus that are going to be going through labor contract talks this year, right? The talks are going to be completed after we've completed the budget talks. So how possibly could I make an informed decision since those contracts are going to come after we have the budget conversation?
It does present a timing challenge, particularly for this next cycle. Again, I think that the purpose is to bring forward some of those conversations around what the costs are that the Bureau and the Commissioner in charge might be willing to support earlier in the labor negotiation conversations. But it is ultimately a timing and a policy preference question for Council.
So to put a little clarity on this, because it doesn't work all that differently today. I mean, if we have a labor negotiation and it's substantially above the rate of inflation, there still is a council-wide discussion about the priorities in that bureau. And the council could say, well, we negotiated a contract that is beyond the rate of inflation, but we don't support fully funding that bureau, including that rate. In other words, take it out of somewhere else in the bureau. I mean, that is not an uncommon scenario around here in a cut budget.
Correct.
Is it?
No, that has happened, certainly.
And to answer Commissioner Fish's question, which is a legitimate question, the commissioner in charge could still come back to the council with a directive to develop to basically make those programs whole. I mean, so what we've done is we've just flipped this in terms of when the disclosure is going to be made. Commissioner Fritz.
The real question is it a specific budget ask, or does it just automatically go into the CAL?
The CAL,
And I
exactly.
think it's better to have it as a specific budget ask, that it should, for instance, police. Police just assumed when we gave them the huge raise that we were going to find $6 million for them in the rest of the budget, that they weren't going to have any impacts on their budget, and that the rest of the city would eat it. I think when the police or any union that's negotiating ought to be thinking, do we want this pay raise if it means that fewer of our members are going to have jobs, or some similar trade-offs?
Yeah, if I could, it actually strengthens our hand in labor negotiations. In that particular example, it certainly would.
I have the great burden of having served here for 10 years, so I don't actually have the same recollection of the frequency with which we've had bureaus eat the labor costs. I think they have traditionally gone into the CAL for better or worse. And I also, since I'm also a veteran of sitting in on council, on closed-door meetings to discuss labor strategy, I want to echo what Commissioner Hardesty said, which is we have a centralized unit that does most of the negotiations and then presents an agreement. I guess what this rule would require is the commissioner in charge to make a standing objection throughout the conversations about labor negotiations, not to exceed the rate of inflation, and to be very clear with his or her colleagues that if the council thinks there's a good value in going above the rate of inflation, buying some change, some equity concern about paying people a minimum, a certain standard of living or whatever, that will come back as a requested ad package. I have to say, in thinking about how we currently do things and how we would operate under this seems very clumsy to me. And the timing of labor negotiations and the requests and how we do our budgeting, the fact that these are not aligned, makes it a potential nightmare to figure out your budget and to have some consistency with the public. So I think it is laudable to have a more accountable system where we don't tell our labor partners they can automatically assume rates increases over the rate of inflation, that there is some trade-off. I think it is laudable to say that not every contract, including the richest possible contract, goes into the CAL. I think this is going to have significant unforeseen problems, laudable as it may be, and so I wanted to put those on the record. It may be a good budget. It may end up being one of those things that is a good financial practice, but adapted to our form of government, to our timelines. I actually think this is going to cause chaos. And it's certainly going to cause me to fundamentally rethink the sort of movement that we have in this city towards consolidating city services. I am going to be less inclined to have HR over here handle my negotiations if I'm looking at potential cuts in my bureau because they happen to think that to get to a contract, there's a trade-off.
So that's a compelling argument, but let me give the counter argument. And this is a good conversation. I'm sorry we waited 8 hours into our council session to have this. The counter argument is we negotiate in good faith, and let's assume we negotiate always in good faith, and we negotiate for whatever reason a contract in a particular bargaining unit that is above or well above the rate of inflation. Commissioner Fish is talking about the uncertainty that is then created inside the Bureau. And I agree with that. But the way we do it now is we're creating uncertainty everywhere else. We're saying, okay, in Bureau X, let's say the Police Bureau, we're agreeing to a certain increase in salaries, benefits, wages. It's bumped into the CAL. What we have actually just done by default is put everybody else's budget at risk. We have actually made a budgetary decision on behalf of every other bureau without any overt discussion about the trade-offs. And so what this forces is a very uncomfortable conversation, I'll be the first to admit, particularly looking at my portfolio, of not only what are we negotiating and what are the comps and what seems fair, but how the heck are we actually going to pay for it? So it pushes that question into the present, alongside the labor negotiations.
So Mayor, I completely agree with what you just said. And what I've been trying to do, because this is at variance with our current practice, is I've been trying to spin off how practically will this work. So let's assume we're in the midstream in a fiscal year. A contract is negotiated and ratified that has well above the rate of inflation. I think the only prudent thing that each of us would do under those circumstances is calculate the amount above the rate of inflation and do mid-year cuts. Because there is no guarantee of that being picked up in the next budget. We are looking at the alternative of an over expenditure ordinance, which God forbid is the way to resolve this. So it is based on depending on the timing of the labor negotiations, it effectively works as a sequester. We're forcing cuts ahead of knowing whether there is either an appetite among our colleagues to fund the amount above inflation, or available resources, or both. So, and I'm not trying to treat this as some academic exercise. I think we are making a significant change. I think this needs a little more cooking, but again, I appreciate that it may be a best practice. I'm just not sure how it actually works with our form of government and the way and the timeline that we operate on in terms of our budget and our labor negotiations.
So I should disagree respectfully and have had the same number of budgets as you, even though you have 6 months more service than I. I think that we always have commissioners who are coming to the budget process making the case for the packages that they are requesting, particularly in the case of the low-income workers in parks. That was something that we all agreed on the contract, and we had the discussion, and then there was the package in the budget process that we all agreed, ouch, that's a lot of money, and yes, we should do it. And so, but I just think it should not be automatically put into the current appropriation level or the CAL, because then it's just assumed that everybody else is going to share the cost. I mean, maybe there may be some budgets where we'll say, well, you're going to take a little bit more, everybody else is getting a 1% cut. This Bureau X is going to get a 2% because they've given this really expensive contract that the council felt like had to give. Clarifying question, when we say no more than inflation, is that then the employees would get the cost of living adjustment as well? So are we actually talking twice the cost of living adjustment, or what do you mean by no more than inflation?
So I believe that is based on the fact that already as part of CAL, we include a cost of living adjustment in the CAL allocation already. So it's essentially the amount that will be above what is already included in the Bureau's CAL target going into the next year.
But if we give the cost of living adjustment across the board, and the union contracts don't say you're going to get your cost of, well, they say you're going to get a floor of 1% and a cap of whatever it would be. And then we often have seen, and you'll get 2% above that. So Josh Harwood, City Economist.
Thanks, Commissioner and Mayor. Yeah, Josh Harwood, the City Economist. I think we're using inflation here colloquially to essentially mean things that aren't included in the CAL target now. So you're right, they could negotiate something below what we have in the CAL target now, and it would show savings in the forecast. That hasn't been a typical experience for me. When we have priced out contracts, when HR has priced out contracts before, the adjustment to the CAL target is an adjustment above what we've already forecasted for
Right.
the adjustment that they have.
So I think what we're actually saying then is that there won't be pay increases except for cost of living, and that's the piece that would go into you have to ask extra for it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
If you give a 2% across the board in addition to whatever the cost of living is.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, I'm glad you did seek to clarify it, because now it's as clear as mud to me. Because we don't set cost of living except annually, and we do it. You give us a number on cost of living. So how on earth how on earth do we even have that number if there's mid-year bargaining?
So that's what I'm saying, is that there would not be an additional number in addition to cost of living in the new contract. there wouldn't be an across-the-board X% in addition to cost of living, because there's always, in every contract, there's always a floor and a ceiling on what cost of living can be.
Yeah, and it's defined by the, just to clarify, it's defined by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So, yeah, I don't come up with it myself per se, but.
And then often a contract will say, and you're going to get this much raise in addition, either across the board or in steps or in something extra.
And that's the amount that we're talking about here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're actually saying that anything above the expected cost of living would be something that the Bureau would have to consider absorbing, or else ask council for an add package to not absorb it.
Yes.
So it begs the question for me, kind of, how are we directing human resources in contract talks? I mean, are we just saying that there are going to be no raises other than cost of living? Because it feels like, as the commissioner in charge, you're trying to tie my hands, and I'm not even in the room making the negotiation. Somebody else is in the room making a negotiation that then comes back, right? So it does feel like just setting this as policy means that whatever they're negotiating in some other room somewhere, that once it comes to the city council, that means that we either all support it as a council, or I'm forced to vote against it if I believe that there's going to be a better use of whatever the increase is in my bureau in some other way.
Executive decision time.
Okay.
Can I just respond?
Please, yeah,
real quick to
Commissioner.
that?
Yes, go for it.
The current practice has been, everybody else is going to help pay for this, so yeah, that looks good. I'll take that for my folks, or I've negotiated down to this for my folks. So I think that what this is attempting to do is to have more responsibility for the commissioner in charge, and for the Bureau to be really thinking, is this, if we don't get an extra allocation from the general fund, is this really the best way to spend our resources?
So I apologize, I'm going to have to leave, but I will say that I'm in no way ready to vote for this either. I'd love to have a briefing, and I'd like to learn more about what the unintended consequences would be for this if this was actually passed by the council. Thank you.
So, as I was saying, as if on cue from Commissioner Hardesty, I want people to feel as comfortable about this as possible, since we are passing long-term policies, fiscal policies for the whole council. I think it's really important that we all walk this walk together, and that we all feel equally comfortable about what is in this document. So I would propose that we continue this until the first week of April. I believe everybody is here. Is that correct?
Yes, everybody is
Good.
present.
So why don't we do that, and then we'll have time, and the budget director and the chief financial officer and the economist who provides good conversation. Let's walk the floor. Let's collect all of the questions or concerns that people have. We'll see if we can answer those, and if not, then we can entertain some amendments to the policy. But I don't want to take a vote today and have a 3-2 split. I think that would be a mistake.
And we'll hold public testimony until the next time, too.
Absolutely, yes. So we'll just continue this. Yeah.
Yeah, can I indulge you for one additional minute?
You bet, of course.
So you've addressed the question of lawsuits. Thank you for the clarification on that. I have some additional questions about labor costs and cost shifting. We'll talk about that between now and April. The third issue I just want to raise from my colleagues, and they're going to get another preview of this issue next Tuesday, is that Parks has put in a request for O&M for 38 different improvements that were built under Commissioner Fritz's watch: playgrounds, parks, trails, other things, which under well-established practice and under a change in our policy led by Commissioner Saltzman and subsequently baked into our FIN 2.03.02, we have a policy that says that the operations and maintenance money will follow new assets that are opened. And it has consistently been applied for the 10 years that I have served on this body. What makes this particularly of concern to me is, of the 38 different assets that Commissioner Fritz has opened or will open shortly, I believe a majority of them are in East Portland, so we are using systems development charge money, bond money, and other resources to build out our system and provide for equity. Under the budget, under the CBO's decision on the ad package that the parks put in, the CBO is recommending no O&M for any of those assets and is taking the position that it is a council discretionary act as to whether to put O&M to follow the assets. There's a little more complication in terms of the timing of the ask. We're gonna mention that in our parks briefing on Tuesday for the budget committee, but this would be the first time in 10 years that O&M has not followed the opening of new facilities, and I'm gonna urge that policy be once again codified so that we don't have a situation where this is being objected to.
Commissioner Fish.
Jennifer Koopman, you're not proposing to change that policy, right?
The CBO has proposed to change it.
Well, we have a financial policy on it, so.
I just want
Commissioner
to
Daly.
mention that I have put in an absence for 4:30 this afternoon and want to apologize in advance to our friends at Work Systems. I'm hoping to get to see the beginning of your presentation if we're.
Good, all right, so let's do this. We will continue item number 229 to Wednesday, April 3rd. It will be in the morning session. I don't want to assign a time certain to it at this particular moment. I want to keep that flexible. I want to thank our panel. This is a very important conversation, but it's one I want to make sure where we all walk it together. So thank you. The item is continued. Last but not least today is item number 236.
Accept report on workforce development by Work Systems, Inc.
Colleagues, I'm excited today to bring this report forward. We often talk about the housing crisis that Welcome.
Thank you. Should we go ahead and start? Okay. Bobby Lee with Prosper Portland, Director of Economic Development. Thank you, Mayor and
Thank you.
council members. What I'll try to do, I'm going to keep my comments short because we have folks testifying today, and you're going to hear some really interesting stories and heartfelt stories. So I'll try to keep my comments short. The workforce development system is federally driven. It's a requirement by federal law to have a workforce development agencies in every city and every county in the United States. So whether in Salem or Eugene or in Portland, they all have something like work systems. They may be called something different, but each city and county, they all have a workforce development agency identified by federal government and the state government and through all of you, the local government. And the designation is under what is called the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. It's a federal act. And it's through this designation that allows federal dollars to flow into in the local region. And this, with the federal dollars, then we have local dollars that we will also supplement. But the lion's share of the funding for workforce development is actually from the federal government. So why did the federal government create this law? In part is due to the need to align all the workforce development resources to one entity so that we have better coordination, we can leverage all the funds, lower the overhead, and ensure there's one unified plan to meet the needs of employers and employees. This centralized approach also allows other support services, such as through what is called the WorkSource Center, to have also social services, employment-related services, workforce training, and economic development entities all working under one umbrella to provide a wraparound services to our customers. Lastly, the federal law also requires that the oversight board, which the mayor serves on, or his designee, is required by federal law that the oversight board is private sector, and the majority of the members serving on that board is from the private sector, so that the public workforce development system is meeting the needs of our regional employers. So with that, that's a broad stroke. It can be confusing, this whole structure, because it's federally created, but it is a requirement, and as a result of that requirement, we are receiving the $4 million from the federal government. And with that in mind, I'll turn it over to Patrick or Andrew.
I guess I'll go next. Thank you, Bobby. My name is Andrew McGough. I'm the Executive Director of Work Systems. Thank you, Commissioners, for having us this afternoon. Much appreciated. I also want to say thank you for the partnership over many, many years. So we're here today to provide an update on the Economic Opportunity Program, which is a growing and successful collaboration between the city, Prosper Portland, Work Systems, the Housing Bureau, A Home for Everyone, Home Forward, the Oregon Department of Human Services, the Oregon Department of Education and Early Child Care Division, and a broad array of community-based organizations, all dedicated to working together to serve some of the city's most vulnerable residents. While others will tell the current story in a little while, my primary job today is to provide some historical perspective. That said, I do want to say that over the years, the Economic Opportunity Program has evolved to embody what I think is a great example of collective impact in action. It's tough to argue with the idea of bringing multiple resources, programs, and organizations together to address complex issues and realize greater impact, but actually making it happen is much easier to theorize than to practice. Collaboration is time-consuming, complex, and often messy work. But as evidenced by the Economic Opportunity Program, the benefits far outweigh the pain. The city and Work Systems first started talking about collaborating to better serve some of our most vulnerable residents back in 2007, when the Economic Opportunity Initiative was being run out of the Bureau of Housing and Community Development. Kimberly Snyder was a senior policy director for Mayor Adams, and Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone. In addition to Kimberly and Mayor Adams, at the risk of missing a name or two, the history of the Economic Opportunity Program involves a virtual smorgasbord of city government and community leaders. Commissioner Fish, Will White, Andy Miller, Steve Rudman, Ed Blackburn, Sam Chase, Lynn Knox, Kate Allen, Michael Alexander, Connie Ashbrook, Nicole Maher, Warren Jimenez, among many, many others, all played an integral role in the development and evolution of the Economic Opportunity Program. With the coaching of the mayor's office, iPhones in hand, BHCD Work Systems began working closely together to look for ways to align our respective efforts and outcomes. When BHCD became the Housing Bureau in 2009, the Economic Opportunity Initiative was transitioned to the Portland Development Commission. We continued to work to build the partnership, and in July 2011, the first joint Economic Opportunity Work Systems contracts were issued. Since then, the program has grown, the partnerships have expanded, the impact has widened, and Kimberly Snyder has become Kimberly Branham. Thanks again for your partnership and support, and I look forward to continuing to work together to grow the program and expand its impact.
Hi, I'm Patrick Gearing, Chief Program Officer at Work Systems. Thank you for hearing us this afternoon. The Economic Opportunity Program provides career track training and employment services to reduce poverty and increase prosperity and housing stability. City of Portland funding for EOP is about $2.7 million, which pays for career coaching provided by a network of 12 community-based partners who serve about 1,900 Portlanders every year through this program. These partners bring strong connections and expertise in serving the program's target populations, including homeless, people at risk of homelessness, ex-offenders, immigrants, residents of neighborhood prosperity initiatives, and communities of color. Work Systems situates these partners within a system of resources and services that augment funding for career coaching, multiply the impact of the city's investment, and improve services and outcomes. Building on the city's investment, we incorporate an array of additional funding and services from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Department of Agriculture, U.S. Department of Labor, the State of Oregon, Joint Office of Homeless Services, and other sources to add over $7 million into the program every year. This includes about $3.5 million to fund more career coaches to serve even more Portlanders, about $2 million to provide occupational training for participants focusing on target sectors of healthcare, construction, advanced manufacturing, high-tech, truck driving, and financial industry. About $900,000 in on-the-job training and internships for people who lack work experience or recent work experience, and about $800,000 for rent assistance so that people who are homeless or facing eviction can participate in occupational training and start a job, with the result that they can get a job that supports their housing. These are all resources we bring to the program to serve more people and to create a system of services that addresses what people need to be successful. Every city-funded program we manage benefits from additional funding we pursue and secure and place into these programs. For example, through a federal matching grant, we've generated $680,000 that will be placed into EOP contracts next year to augment the city's investment. And that's just one example among the $7 million in resources I've mentioned earlier in this presentation. This is definitely not all to our credit. The success we've had in bringing in additional funding is in no small part due to the incredible expertise and work being done by our community-based partners. We're excited for you to hear from them shortly. This program and the people it serves benefit in many ways from a team and a system approach. In a moment, you're going to hear from some of the program participants who've benefited from the array of partners and services that make this program so unique and effective. To keep my part simple, I'll just give a single example of our newest area of enhancement that we've made over the past half year, which is alignment with the public system of healthcare. We've run many programs that train people for middle-income occupations. One thing everyone in this field experiences is that low-income people with dependent children select themselves out because they can't pay for the cost of childcare while they're in training or getting a footing in a new job. This has the effect of increasing intergenerational poverty and disproportionately impacts single mother households who in Multnomah County have twice the poverty rate as the overall population. To address this, Work Systems, the Oregon Department of Education, Oregon Department of Human Services have partnered to provide childcare so that EOP participants with dependent children can pursue training for a middle-income career. For EOP program participants, childcare is now paid while they participate in occupational training, job search, and starting a job for 12 months. $450,000 annually is available to support these costs, and a full-time childcare coordinator staffed by Department of Human Services helps identify childcare providers, troubleshoots coverage, and supports seamless access to our program's parents of young children. This new pilot, launched just a few months ago, is an illustration of the team approach we've built that's multiplying the city's investment, increasing the number of Portlanders served, and creating the supports necessary for people to be successful despite very significant challenge. My colleague, Victoria Liebov, is going to talk about the services and partners and results next. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners and mayors, and thank you for staying for our presentation. Appreciate that. So my boss, Stacy Triplett, was supposed to be doing this presentation and part of a presentation, and she's stuck in Denver in the blizzard condition, participated in a national conference. While I'm not happy for her going through that, I'm happy to present on her behalf because I'm one of those people who were at the table representing IRCO, Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, with only $100,000 grant at 2007 at the inception of Economic Opportunity Initiative that was evolved, and Andrew just present the history. So in a way, it's my lucky chance to talk about this program that I also continue to work with as Work Systems Senior Project Manager now, with all the community partners that are a part of this amazing network. So the Economic Opportunity Network is reached with a lot of community-based providers, organizations that use their knowledge and expertise to serve specific populations with one-on-one individualized career coaching and occupational training in the community. Of course, so much of the training is provided through a strong connection with WorkSource Portland Metro resources, which include training scholarships, paid work experiences, and placement support for career track jobs for this population. I briefly want to just cover the current data that shows who we serve. So the most vulnerable population includes homeless and housing insecure residents, about 26%. Justice-involved individuals, 38% of self-report involvement with the criminal justice system, 10% of immigrants and refugees and English language learners. 50% of people we serve currently are long-term unemployed, have been looking for work for 27 weeks or more, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics definition. And 57% hold a high school diploma, GED or less. We serve very diverse group of people. 19% of African Americans, 13% Latina, Native Hawaiian and API 6%, Native American almost 6%, white 55%, and a very diverse group of immigrants and refugees coming from all over the world to Portland. In keeping with priorities shared by PHB and Prosper Portland Work Systems, all participants that are served are low income, defined as earning 50% of MFI or below. Basically, family of four would, the 50% MFI is $40,700. We have community partners we contract with. They are from Central City Concern, Human Solutions, Southeast Works, IRCO, Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, Oregon Trades Women, Constructing Hope, and the network is growing. Our newer and additional partners are Portland Opportunity Industrialization Center, El Programa Hispana Católica, Urban League, and Latina Network. In addition, there are a network of youth serving organizations that work with young adults eligible to work at 16. Beyond those already mentioned, it's New Avenue for Youth, Portland Youth Builders, and NAYA, Native American Youth and Family Center. So a little bit of data from the last year. Only last year, with the city-funded programs, we serve over 780 low-income participants. Almost 150 of them completed training for credentials recognized in their fields. 76% of those served left the program employed at wages averaging $14.06. And, you know, average is not always makes the true story. For example, during this years under the Work Systems contract, we served 400 chronically homeless people, and their average wage is $11.30, you know, average over the years, which sounds lower than minimum wage right now, but it's a great accomplishment for people who experiences homelessness. With our additional another economic opportunity program that is program that serves professional immigrants and refugees, their average wage is $16.84. So based on population, level of education, the support they needed, average the true accomplishments are different. And as Patrick mentioned, $7 million that you heard about before is an additional resources that we bring from Department of Labor, Health and Human Services, and USDA matching grant that he already said about. I don't want to repeat. So the EOP is well, I just counted, I've been involved for 12 years, is a growing program that brings the wonderful work of many organizations together. And it's less and less messy because we've been working together for a long, long time. And it's my pleasure to invite to talk Clay Cooper, who is the Senior Director of Social Enterprises and Employment Services from Central City Concern. Then Megan Bell, who is the Director of Employment and Training with POIC. And while Human Solutions Executive Director wanted to be here, he couldn't make it, but their lead economic opportunity program career coach is there to speak on his behalf. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much. Thanks for being here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Clay Cooper. I'm, as Victoria said, I am the Senior Director of Social Enterprises and Employment Services at Central City Concern. I oversee our street cleaners for City of Portland, Downtown Clean and Safe, and the Central Eastside Industrial District. I also oversee Central City Coffee and our Employment Services Program. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I also wanted to thank Commissioner Hardesty for coming to the Employment Access Center earlier this month. She met with a few of our employees and heard about the work that we were doing cleaning our streets and sidewalks. Central City Concern is a nonprofit direct service organization that provides integrated primary and behavioral health care, supportive and affordable housing to people impacted by homelessness in the Tri-County area. Central City Concern operates about 2,000 units of affordable housing and serves 9,000 patients annually through the 13 federally qualified health centers. But I'm here today to talk to you about our employment services programs that worked with 1,200 people over the past 12 months, a majority of whom were homeless, and placed over 750 of them into employment at over 300 employers. Work Systems is one of our largest funders that enabled us to help these clients. But let me back up because I want you to know a bit more about our clients. During my time at Central City Concern, I've heard a common story where many of our clients grew up in a single-parent household and that parent was a drug addict. Our clients were then introduced to drugs at an early age and would develop their own addiction by their early teens. They were also subjected to physical and verbal abuse and would then understandably run away from home. As we help our clients with their addiction, we are also helping them develop confidence in what it means to be a good employee. We enable clients to pursue a career that is meaningful to them because the evidence shows that when someone is excited about their job, they are less likely to relapse. Therefore, we offer every client that lives in our housing the opportunity to receive one-on-one support from a career coach. In fact, most of our career coaches were initially clients that received support from Work Systems Employment Opportunity Program. So those career coaches have actually come to this work with lived experience in poverty, homelessness, and substance use disorders. So when they are out there talking to our clients about the possibility of starting a new chapter in their lives, they know better than any of us the power of that possibility. The EOP program helps us provide our clients with child care, rent assistance, scholarships, training funded through WorkSource, and access to retention services, to name a few. Getting started on a career is the last step away from a lifelong struggle for our clients and the first step toward a new life. You all know that a good job is what can provide you with the opportunity to finally start a family, own a home, and dream of retirement. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for supporting this work.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Meg Bell, and I'm the Director of Employment and Training at POIC. Thank you for having me speak today and allowing me to share some amazing success stories from our EOP programs. Portland Opportunities Industrialization Center, POIC, is committed to the success of youth through the age of 29, providing the highest quality services in education, mentoring, family outreach, employment training, and placement. POIC was founded in 1968 and has been active in the Portland community for over 50 years. Our history and roots as an organization are in adult and youth workforce development for the African American community in North and Northeast Portland. We have had a workforce development program since the start of the organization and still offer culturally specific workforce development today. In January of 2017, POIC started EOP services. Being a part of the
What's EOP?
Economic Opportunities Program.
Thank you.
Being a part of the EOP network has offered our community and program tremendous benefits. We've been able to grow our programs and serve more participants in need with the 50/50 matching funds. Participants have a strong network of resources built in, including access to federal funds for programs like Health Careers Northwest, rental assistance, childcare, internships, scholarships and grants to the WorkSource Portland Metro Centers. And on top of that, our staff are supported through monthly training opportunities and a strong network of other EOP providers. As an organization, our priority population is African American young adults ages 18 to 29, perhaps the city's most vulnerable population in terms of outcomes, experiences of violence, poverty, and unemployment. Homelessness impacts this population at higher rates than others, and is often uncounted and unseen in many ways. This is why we're so grateful for the city's commitment to this program. A great example of a success from this program comes from a current participant. Ty is an African-American single mom with 3 young children. She connected with POIC and our program when she was behind in rent payments and at risk of homelessness. She was struggling to find childcare so that she could focus on her career path. When she enrolled in our program, she worked with her career coach to quickly identify a career plan that focused on her goals and led to her goal of being in a healthcare career. Through active participation and the integration of services in our EOP program, she was able to access rental support, and she did not lose her apartment. She re-enrolled in night classes in college and is now on track to become a licensed nurse. She received childcare support through a childcare grant designed to support participants in trainings, and she was able to obtain employment that was in a health-related field to pay her bills. The EOP program is the only workforce funding POIC has that also comes with rental assistance. In many of our programs, we see participants struggle with housing as their top concern, and that limits their ability to focus on long-term career goals. Providing housing support while a participant is completing a training and searching for employment is critical to that person's success. EOP funding and support from the City of Portland has allowed us to serve participants in ways we weren't able to previously. Because of this, we are thankful for your ongoing support.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Megan Gerlach, and I am the lead career coach at Human Solutions. Human Solutions serves low-income people living in East Portland. And in addition to our employment programs, we also have housing programs and run affordable housing in East County. Human Solutions has been part of the Economic Opportunity Program since the beginning. And prior to that, we were part of the EOI, or the Employment Opportunity Initiative, through Portland Prosper. Human Solutions is extremely proud to be part of the Economic Opportunity Program, and we have 2 major roles within the program. First, we operate 4 EOP career coaching programs that are funded through the city and additional resources made available by Work Systems. We have our Portland EOP serving Portlanders in poverty who are at risk of homelessness. We also have a program serving homeless Portlanders that are on SNAP. We have a program serving people interested in pursuing healthcare careers. That's our Health Careers Northwest program, and a program serving people re-entering the community from incarceration. These programs are essential for the communities we serve. WSI has been instrumental in providing systems alignment that have brought additional resources, as well as been able to leverage others. When we began EOP programming, only had our Portland EOP. We really feel that the programs that have been added have all either addressed a need that was identified by our providers. Our SNAP 50/50 program has given us additional capacity by providing a reinvestment of 50 cents for every dollar spent on the contract. We were able to add an additional full-time career coach with those dollars. Our DCJ program gave additional capacity to work with participants reentering the community from incarceration, and our Health Careers Northwest opportunity to support our participants getting into the healthcare field, one of the fastest growing industries in Portland. In addition, we serve as the system-wide rent assistance hub, providing rent assistance for participants from across the program who are homeless or being evicted. Through this service, we have about 100 with housing. We have about 100 people served through housing assistance from either being evicted or being placed into housing. And we have about, at the one-year checkup, there's about an 85% success rate that that person is still housed. This is just another example of WSI working with Home Forward, and a couple of years ago to bring additional rent assistance due to the need of the customers that we're serving. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to speak, so I'm reading off some notes.
You're doing fine.
In just a moment, you're actually going to hear from one of the participants that I work with. And I, just as a career coach, I can say that one of the best parts of my job is just being able to see people grow. And these programs really, really offer people that opportunity. I have been able to house several folks who wouldn't have been able to keep their jobs or attain additional training without being housed. It's extremely hard for people to move forward if just worrying about where they're going to sleep is their main concern. And most recently, the daycare, assistance. I have had now 3 people be able to finish training because of the daycare dollars that are provided. All of them were paying large copays. So we had daycare covered, but the copay was something that was going to become a barrier to them completing training and finding a higher wage employment. So the daycare dollars have really helped. Because of the work that Human Solutions does in general, we know that the issues of homelessness, housing, and employment are interrelated. And we want to thank you for your support for this program that's been a lifeline to the communities we serve. So thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your continued support.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, mayors and commissioners, for being here. My name is Alvin Clavan. I am representing Constructing Hope, who is one of the community partners that the former speakers were speaking about. Hold on, I have my notes. I wasn't supposed to be here today either. But I do have my
Denver in the
notes.
snowstorm?
Pardon?
Everybody else is in Denver in the snowstorm?
Yeah, actually not this time.
Well,
I do have an interesting story about a fire, though, but...
I do appreciate you all, coming here and making sure that the presentation goes on, even though the designated speakers were not able to be here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's kind of the way of the nonprofit where we all just kind of fit in where we fit in when we need to, do we not? So my name is Alvin Clavan. I am the case manager at Constructing Hope. We are a pre-apprenticeship program. I'm also representing Pat Daniels, who is unfortunately had a fire impact her home, and therefore, why she's not here. So fires and snowstorms, oh my. For 15 years, the Constructing Hope mission has been rebuilding lives through skills training and education in the construction industry. We prioritize training for those with legal histories and those with low income positions. And we all know that that's policy code for our brothers and sisters of African, American, Latino, and Native descent more than often. Along with our key partners at Oregon Tradeswomen Incorporated, we facilitate career track employment for those that are most underrepresented among the union halls of Portland and Multnomah County. Today, I'm here to discuss the community-based provider perspective and the critical impact the EOP program plays in the success of our outcomes at Constructing Hope. Quite simply, without EOP, for many of our pre-apprentices, they would not have hope. I work with our partners, many like Human Solutions and some of the others that are here, to help bridge the gap between adversity and opportunity, between despair and hope, and often the difference between housing and homelessness. I'll share quite briefly the story of Robert Thomas, one of our pre-apprentices, who is not here today to represent himself because he got called into work. So he was very much a success story of one of our individuals who went through our pre-apprenticeship program. But prior to him being accepted into the Local 29 Iron Workers Union Hall, Robert came to us with a legal history, and we had to overcome some barriers there to get him qualified. He needed housing, and through the EOP program, we were actually able to get him housing. He needed childcare because as soon as he came out of incarceration, he soon inherited parentage of his child, not through the courts, but kind of like, here's your kid, you've been gone, he's yours now. And so without the EOP program, he simply would not have been able to get into the trade. He would not have had an opportunity to get the housing he needed and the childcare that he needed. So it's just a common theme. So even today, as I've been a case manager for Constructing Hope only for a couple of months, housing is the most critical need for individuals that are just trying to get out of a bad position and into work. So without EOP, I just don't know how we'd accomplish that, quite simply. So with that, I don't want to beat a dead horse with a stick. I think you guys get the point.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Van Voors. I am a construction career coach at Portland Youth Builders. Thank you for having us. PYB has been around for over 20 years, but specifically, I'm not here to talk about our full-year high school completion program. I'm here to talk about our 11-week construction specific for high school graduate program, which is funded through the EOP program. I'm lucky enough to get to work with the students who participate in this program. We run 4 cohorts a year for 18 to 26-year-olds who want to get into the trades. It's a very intense 11-week training that we have run out of our Portland Youth Builders campus in Southeast Portland for about 2.5 years now, and we're actually about a week away from finishing this most recent cohort that we've piloted in Hillsborough. And there's been a major demand for this type of program in Hillsborough, so much so we had to turn folks away, which was really unfortunate, but unfortunately, the funding does not exist for us currently to have a second trainer because we find it's really important that these individuals are getting very unique, specific one-on-one training as much as possible. So our students Tuesday through Thursday are on a construction work site, and then Friday they're in the classroom, just as they would be as an apprentice. Over the 2.5 years, we've had a lot of success with this program. We've had students finish up our program and literally the next day or the next week join a union apprenticeship. We've had students join the laborers, the iron workers, the electricians, the carpenters, the roofers, the iron workers, cement masons, you name it. We've had students join these unions. In a minute, I'm going to have one of our great graduates, Matt, speak about his experience prior to PYB, while he was at PYB, and what he's been doing since as a scaffold erector. I could have students lined up out the door to come and speak about the success of this program, but as he mentioned earlier, they're working. They're out building our city. High schools have turned their backs on the trades. And it's programs that the EOP are being able to fund that are saving the city, that are allowing the city to boom like it is right now. It'd be booming more had our high schools not turned their backs on the trades. I get passionate about this stuff because I believe in it. We operate out of the neighborhood I grew up in. I work with kids that I was once. I've been at PYB for 10 years now, and these last 3 years, we put more students into union apprenticeship than ever, and we'll continue to do that as long as the funding is there to allow us to do the work that we do. Thank you for allowing this platform to hear about all the great stuff that we're doing, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for the work you're doing. Thanks. We appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, the lady first. Go ahead. You can.
Hello, good afternoon. Hi. My name is Brianna Garcia. I am here today to speak on my experience with the Southeast WorkSource Center, specifically the Prisoner Reentry Employment Program, otherwise known as PREP. So upon being released from prison, it was extremely difficult finding employment. This was something that I ended up just settling for warehouse jobs in order to meet the demands of my supervision. I continued doing this, working 6 days a week, overtime every day, to be able to make ends meet until I was actually lost a job due to some complications during while I was pregnant. So at that time, the unemployment department referred me to the WorkSource Center. And they got me connected with the PREP, with Cindy as my career coach. There I was able to learn how to create an effective resume. I learned how to write a cover letter. I learned how to interview, and I took a workshop on the scholarship application process. And through this workshop is actually how I learned about peer support. And when I learned about this, it was really that kind of defining moment where it really clicked for me that I could use my life experience in a way to support other people who were going through similar things as I had. So I applied for the scholarship, and I did get the scholarship to attend a peer wellness specialist training. And while I was going through this training, I was actually faced with the possibility of an eviction. Cindy referred me to the EOP rental assistance program and was able to get me into that while I completed my training and actually get it extended so that I could complete my training to find employment. And I was also at this time issued gas cards so that I could make it to my training and to interviews. And one of those interviews actually landed me the job I have now as a peer wellness specialist. And working as a traditional healthcare worker has completely shifted my life around. The intense anxiety I used to feel about speaking on my past and my experiences is really no longer there. It has turned, I felt like was my greatest weakness into actually my greatest strength. So thank you so much for giving me your time to speak today.
Thank you for taking the time to come and tell us your story.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Misha Kelly. I am a single 34-year-old mother to my one and only 5-year-old baby girl that just turned 6. I started off a couple years ago trying to get into the healthcare field here in Oregon, and I went through the whole being homeless, in and out of the shelters, staying on people's couches, just trying to get another chance at life. Basically, I went to Human Solutions where they had the Healthcare Career Northwest program. They had a lottery that was going on. It wasn't a guarantee I would be selected, so I went through all the hoops of doing everything they wanted me to do and trying to get in, and I actually was denied, and I almost gave up. But I kept thinking, you know, just keep striving, keep going, something has to give, everything happens for a reason. So eventually, about a year to 2 years later, I came back to Human Solutions, actually just to sit in on a class, just to see, get some extra knowledge, stuff on my resume, and just more training, basically. And Megan, which is my career coach, she actually remembered me from doing the lottery before. And she was kind of shocked to see that I was still going through the struggle, but she kept telling me, just hang in there, things will get better. So she told me there's another grant that came open, and she thought I would qualify, so I should take a chance at it. I didn't think I would go through with it just because I remember the failure that I felt of not getting the lottery before. But I went ahead and I took a chance at it. So I went through the process and everything, and she gave me the information about the EOP and told me, you know, what it has to offer. But I was still hitting roadblocks. I still couldn't afford my daughter to be in daycare and go to classes and still try to carry a job and still try to have gas in my car with the prices fluctuating. There were just so many things, even having a working phone to be on to get an interview for a job. But I just kept going and striving, and she was definitely very supportive, my career coach. And she just, you know, told me to explain what my goal was and where I wanted to be. So I went ahead and I sat down with her and I asked her, you know, if you give me this ability and give me the opportunity, I would be a good investment. I would make sure that I was a hard worker, successful worker. Anytime she needed me to show up, anytime she needed me to speak on behalf of anything, then I would be there to do that. And that was a promise that I made to my baby girl as well. I feel like everything I do in this life affects her too. Even though she's little, whatever choices I make, whatever mistakes I make, it's still gonna benefit her too, or it's gonna harm her in one way or another. So I went ahead and I entered into the CNA program, which I actually have completed as of February of this year. I completed the CNA 1 and I am hoping to actually go into the CNA 2. With the help of the EOP program and also the child daycare with high copays, because again, I wasn't able to afford that before I came to Megan, and just having somebody in my corner. Not everyone has family to be there to support them like that. So just knowing there was someone, a career coach that saw something in me, even if I didn't see it, it was like, you deserve a second chance and not to give up. So I feel like her striving and pushing me and just being there just to keep me going on that career path and not giving up on myself. I definitely appreciate that, and the opportunity. And just being here today made me realize how much of an investment it really is and how much it really does benefit a lot of people in this town and city. So I'm definitely thankful for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, Mayor and Congressman. My name is Ala Al-Mawla. I am from Iraq, Baghdad. I am come here on state 2013, and I still keep going to get my goal, which is construction. I am a civil engineer. I work with a lot of company when they want to my country, and when I met, I still going. I'm not give up. I work with the warehouse, city center parking, but my goal is construction. So I keep going with the AIRCO organization for refugee, and I get my coach, Mr. Surya, and he helped me to go with the program is say the Economic Opportunity Program, EOP. So I get my goal with him, and I go with get me on union apprenticeship to get my goal with the construction. And he helped me a lot also with the renting, because I have to go training with the union, like 2 weeks. So he helped me through the human solutions, and I have also hard things with the insurance through the union, and I come back to AIRCO, and Mr. Surya helped me a lot to set up everything insurance for me, my kids, and my wife, and he set up for me like all the uniform, boots, everything, tools to set up with the construction. Now, I'm happy because I work with the Portland building reconstruction with the Howard Esrite since 2018 April. So maybe I have like 1 year here, I'm happy. So my appreciate you if you can keep increase funding this program like this, so that more people like me, they can go with the goal and get the construction job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for taking time off work and school for coming here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, this is pretty crazy for me, like talking to the commissioner and mayors. So I'm a little like, woo, like. But I'm Matt. You heard Danny talk to. He's my career coach.
Ah, okay.
And well, I first I'm gonna go before PYB. Before PYB, I moved to Portland from San Diego, and it was just the best option for me at the time in my life. And it's crazy that the best option for me was to move here and couch surf with my sisters and some friends I made along the way. So I was couch surfing. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea what I was gonna do, nothing, no clue. until I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do something. I'm gonna weld. So I was like, I'm just gonna become a welder. I heard they made a lot of money. I went to Mount Hood. They charged me $950 per class, and I sold my car so that I can join that class. And then they charged me another $950 so that I could join the next class, which was like the next semester. And I couldn't afford that, so I just told myself, you know what, I need a job right now. And I looked up a construction job on Craigslist, and there it said PYB, and that's Portland Youth Builders. And I was like, oh, this looks like they're hiring. So I went into that, and I talked to somebody there, and they explained to me what it was, and I was like, oh, so it's an 11-week course, not an actual job? And then they were like, yep. And I was like, you know what? I'm motivated, and it's like the best option for me right now. So I get there, and the first guy I talked to, his name's Sean Parks. He was my construction. What do we call him? Construction trainer. He was my construction trainer, and he just explained to me everything. He was like, I don't know why you paid $950 for a welding class when in the union, the carpenters give you that class and get you, certified for that for free. So you get that for free in the union. So I just saw it. I was like, wow, here it is. When my first day there I met there was 4 other guys in my class, and they taught us how to read a measurement tape, the tape measurement, because I never thought I'd be a construction worker. I didn't know how to read a tape. They taught us from like the smallest things to like the biggest things, how to work, how to respect people, how to respect women, how to respect elders, how to respect others in the trades in the area. And it's crazy. I never thought I'd be able to retire one day, and I never thought that I'd be making the money I am making right now. And it was just crazy to me to even cross that through my mind, just because of where I came from and where I was going through. And I ended up graduating with the BOLI Tier 1 certificate, and that is one of the highest certificates to graduate PYB with. And I got a CPR class and a bunch of other certificates, and I joined the Carpenters Union, Local 1503, and I am doing scaffold erecting right now. And scaffold erecting was just an entry position, but I love it. I love being on heights. I've been working here at Portland Building. I've been working at the Hyatt. I've been working at the airport, right next to the convention center. I've been at the Merwin Dam. I've been many places working scaffold, even residential up in these hills. And I just love my job. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but in the year I've been working there, I made $42,000. And that's my first year, and I never ever thought I'd be making that money. And it's only getting better because I'm motivated even more. I learned all my work ethics. I learned them from Portland Youth Builders, and they're the ones that taught me how to work. And I was just some motivated kid. I have a credit score now. It's 700, and yeah, but it's crazy. Like I never thought I'd be having a credit score. I never thought I'd be thinking of retirement. I'm even thinking about my future house now. Like that's what's going on in my head. I still have goals that Danny made us write down. He made us write down our 3-year goal, 5-year goal, and 10-year goal. And I still have those in the notebook, and I still believe that I can achieve those now with this job that I have, and it's all thanks to them. And I'm here to represent Portland Youth Builders and whoever funded them, and I just want to say thank you guys. And I'm not here to tell you my story for pity or for oh, poor guy, he went through all this. I'm here because there's a lot more other dudes like me, women like me that are motivated with just the right amount of motivation. And we're just here. We just need someone to, give us a hand. And it's because of Portland Youth Builders why when I moved here, I fell in love with this city. and I just call it my home now. And I don't think about leaving because I have an amazing job, and I'm surrounded by amazing people who care. And my career coach there, Danny, he cared about me. I even went with him with some personal stuff that I was going through, and I'm probably going over time right now talking, but I just want to thank you guys. Thank you. I don't know who, I never met you guys, but I want to thank them too. And thank you, Amanda Fritz, Ted Wheeler, and Nick Fish. You guys, I just think it's crazy that I'm talking to you guys right now.
I think it's great that you're talking to us, and more importantly, you're talking to a lot of other people who are going to hear about this and who are watching it on TV. And I hope they listen to what you said, because what you said, the word inspirational gets overused too much, but you were goal-oriented, you're focused, you saw an opportunity, you took the opportunity, and man, you're on your way. Good salary, opportunity for advancement, better credit score than I have. You're doing great. You're doing great. I hope other people hear your story and that they're inspired to follow in your footsteps. Thank you for being here and sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This is your city hall, and you're a Portlander now. And so I really appreciate you sharing your story and taking the time to give back just by coming to tell the story, because sometimes people wonder, why do we fund programs like this, and who benefits anyway? And all of you who've come to tell us, you're giving the face to this is what taxpayers' money has invested, and the taxpayers of Portland have invested in you so that you now have a job that pays $42,000 a year, and you're paying your taxes, hopefully your arts tax as well.
Yeah,
and,
that's how I found out I had like $42,000 a year.
Very
I did my
cool.
own taxes for the first time this year too.
Isn't it great the first time you do taxes? You're like, yay, I'm making
Yeah,
money.
it was nerve-wracking. I was like, what am I doing? But
Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Veronica Rivera. I am the second cohort graduate for the EOP POIC Pre-Apprentice Program. So right now I'm currently awaiting my results from my aptitude tests. I chose to go through the Local 48 IBW. It's a electrician's apprenticeship union. So prior to the program, I had been unemployed for about 2 years. Simply because I was tired of working hard for corporate industry without being compensated accordingly, and it was a really huge weight on my chest, wanting to contribute and go above and beyond and earn my wage, most importantly, only to be left feeling dispensable. So I first got connected to the Next Gen program through my former high school, and Next Gen gave me two options. One of them was to further my office administrative skills, and the other was to join the pre-apprentice program through POIC. So I chose to pursue and complete the 12 weeks of introduction to the trade back in October. This brought me hope again back into my life. That hard work could pay off. So the field I chose had a bit of a wait time. They didn't open up till January, so I had quite some time there. So I ended up getting reconnected through the Next Gen program through my career coach, who they got me to become the teacher assistant for the current cohort of the POIC program while my application finishes getting processed. So I'd just like to thank all of the funders for allowing this program to become available, because it has not only been a great incentive for me to stay drug-free in order to achieve my career goals, but has also been a blessing in getting my vision back and aligned with my goals, and has been very empowering for myself as an able-bodied woman.
What was your former high school?
The NAYA, so Native American Youth Association.
Wonderful, and how nice that you've obviously felt at home there and went back and they helped you even after graduation.
It seems that we are all here connected. It's amazing to me. I've gone through IRCO, NAYA, and now POIC, so it's really great to continue to be in the loop and continue to be supported by everybody.
Yeah, and I want to say to everybody here who's in the trades, we have lots of good jobs at the city, in the Water Bureau, in the Environmental Services, in various other, and for electricians as well, so keep us in mind.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Yes.
is that it, Andrew?
That's it, yeah. Thank you very much.
So it's now, you want us to adopt the report?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
So
Here's
we'll
Mayor.
do that with the mayor. Mayor, I move the adoption of the report.
Accept, right?
Exception, I move to accept the report.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Fish to accept the report, a second from Commissioner Fritz. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Fritz?
Well, thank you all for your patience in helping us get a really good ending to the day. I appreciate the information and the collaboration between the various partners, and I look forward to continuing discussions on how we can continue to support workforce development in Portland. Aye.
Fish?
Well, Mayor and Commissioner Fritz, we started today at 9:30, and it's been one of the longer days that we've had as a council. I think we saved the best for the last. And I want to thank everybody that took time out of their busy schedules to be here. I agree with Commissioner Fritz and the mayor that we sometimes overuse the word inspirational, but these were very inspirational stories about people overcoming challenges in their lives and moving ahead. Nothing is more important in a community than supporting each other and helping people achieve the best that they can be. That is really the essence of what community is about. And government has a role, the private sector has a role, the nonprofit world has a role, the faith community has a role, the philanthropic community has a role. But really, what could be more important than helping someone achieve a dream and reach their full potential, become self-sufficient? Today's stories were very inspiring, and I'm honored that I was here to hear them. And I'm pleased that the city continues to invest in the Economic Opportunities Program that gives people a chance to achieve their very best. Aye.
Wheeler?
Well, just what I said earlier, I'm glad the public had the opportunity to hear from these fine individuals, hear their stories, hear about the great opportunities that exist in this community. If you're out there watching and you're sitting there and you're wondering what the future holds for you and how to walk through that door, any of the organizations that were mentioned today, they are all there for you. And as you heard today from the many people who testified, you can achieve amazing things. You can achieve amazing things in this community. So I'm very happy with the work we heard about today. I want to thank our colleagues at Prosper Portland, at Work Systems, all the community organizations that were represented today that help lift people in this community in so many important ways. I vote aye. The report is accepted, and we're adjourned.